A beautiful girl, Mira, with a great figure, who only today became an office worker. While taking a bath at home, the girl somehow found herself in a world unfamiliar to her. The main character could not understand where she found herself and why she could not touch the edge of the bathtub, so she experienced a feeling of fear at that moment. Realizing that the girl had entered a strange world, she thought only that she might be the only person who had entered another world while taking a bath. Mira was in despair. Tears were streaming from her eyes because the only thing she had left was a towel. But this world was completely different from the modern world in which the girl lived. And in this world, there lived beastmen, and the man who appeared before the main character was a white tiger. The girl was not prepared for such an appearance of a man. She was embarrassed and puzzled because the tiger wanted to become her partner. But the white tiger was not the only one who wanted to make Mira his own. The silver ox also desired the girl. Python was not far behind his rivals, so he also offered himself as a partner. And the unfamiliar man from the temple with wings was glad to see the girl. He also wanted the main character. With so many fans, Mira could not remain calm. Overexcited, the girl lost consciousness. Luckily, there was a hidden system in this world that could help the girl survive. The main character was confused. She was not ready for a new life, but having a system and a reference book, Mira will be able to boldly live in this world. Mira, using the reference book and her knowledge, actively engages in agriculture and infrastructure to open up peace in this world of animals. The main character, an ordinary 20-year-old girl like everyone else, after a hard day at work, wanted to relax in the bath. But the only thing that distinguished her from the others was that after taking a bath, she found herself in an unfamiliar world. The girl was confused and scared, and she was also frozen because her butt was completely naked in an unfamiliar world. Usually when others enter a new world, they develop unusual abilities. But Mira was unlucky. All she got was a towel that she was holding in her hands while in the bath. Suddenly, a loud sound was heard from behind the bushes. The girl did not know who was screaming and was very scared. She imagined the new world as terrible. All her thoughts were already about death because the screams were loud and terrible. The girl was afraid and cried. She decided to lie back in the water, thinking that this would help her return to her world. Completely immersed in the water, Mira prayed to the Lord to allow her to return. Opening her eyes in the water, the girl noticed an unfamiliar pair of legs. They were good, strong legs, and it was clear that they did not belong to a woman. Raising her eyes a little higher, the girl was shocked because she saw something she shouldn't have. Seeing this, the girl immediately surfaced, starting to choke from lack of air. She was immediately picked up by unfamiliar male hands. They touched her naked body and lifted her up. Mira was very surprised and embarrassed because she was not ready for such an unexpected acquaintance. Strong and muscular arms lifted her above the water. A man with snow-white hair held her like a feather. The white tiger, the beast man, Jack, was surprised. He had never seen such a small and beautiful female, so he immediately asked what tribe this beautiful person was from. Mira was scared. She didn't know what the stranger wanted to do to her. She asked to let her go, but she was even more shocked by what she saw under the water. Could it really be that very thing that belonged to this unknown man? Confused by her thoughts, the girl tried to get out of the stranger's hands, but Jack remained calm. He was not going to let go of such a cute female and did not want to harm her. Mira didn't know what to do and how best to act. No one would believe her, because she didn't even have any clothes on. Jack tried to calm the little female down. She interested him, so he told her that he would not harm her if she did not run away. The girl calmed down. In the arms of the man, she asked only one thing, that he let her go. The white tiger believed the girl and let her go, which surprised the young lady greatly. Without wasting any time, she decided to immediately head away, thereby running away from the stranger. But Jack didn't even give chase, because Mira was so slow that it wouldn't be difficult for him to catch up with her. Realizing this, the girl turned around, because she understood that she had no chance of escape, so she began to condemn the man for his inappropriate appearance. Then, standing up to his full height in front of the girl, Jack explained that he had been washing himself, which was why he looked like that. Mira realized that all her accusations were useless, and she had nothing to present to him, because she had also washed herself and was now in the same position as he was. The main character needed to cover her exposed areas with something, so she started looking around for the only thing that had moved with her, a towel. Noticing him, the girl immediately grabbed her towel and began to bless God for such luck. Suddenly, the white tiger turned to the girl. He was wondering where the male was, such a small female. Mira didn't understand what the man was talking about. She didn't yet know that this world was ruled by beastmen. Then Jack explained to the girl that she was a female and he was a male and they could be partners. The main character was very surprised by such information. She could not imagine that she had ended up in such a world. To prove and show what kind of world the young lady had found herself in, Jack transformed into his true form, a white tiger. The girl fainted immediately from shock. She was not prepared to see such a huge tiger. Jack, in his tiger form, didn't know what to do with the woman and why she was so scared. Having plunged into the water, Mira again began to pray to God for salvation, but at that moment she heard only a ringing in her ears. This ringing informed the girl that the world data had been successfully loaded and the system had been launched. Mira knew nothing about the system or the world. She had yet to learn all of this. When the girl woke up, she found herself on something soft and unfamiliar, but she felt comfortable lying there. The white tiger immediately noticed that the girl had woken up, because it was on him that she had been resting all this time. Mira looked at what she was lying on, her eyes wide. She was stunned, because all this time she thought she was sleeping peacefully in the bed. Jack was worried about the girl, so as soon as she woke up, he asked how she was feeling. The heroine was cold, she was completely naked, and the wind was cold, the girl was freezing. The tiger noticed that the girl was trembling all over, so he immediately stopped and took on human form. Having turned into a human, Jack picked up the girl in his arms, which made the young lady very embarrassed. After this, Jack decided to jump up the tree and leave the girl there. Having let go of the girl, he began to take off the rest of his clothes. Mira was not ready for such a sight and did not understand what was happening. The man left Mira with the cloth he used to cover his body parts and a dagger for protection. After this, he turned into a white tiger again and told the girl to wait for him. Sitting on the tree, Mira watched the tiger. At first, she did not understand what Jack wanted to do. But then she realized that the tiger had gone hunting and his target was a boar. Hiding in the bushes, the tiger waited for the perfect moment to attack. As soon as it arrived, the tiger immediately attacked its prey, leaving no chance for salvation. He grabbed the boar's neck with his jaws and did not let go. After finishing the hunt, Jack turned into a human and approached the tree where he had left the girl, telling her that she could now safely jump off. There were 4 meters to the ground. The girl understood that she would not be able to jump from the tree so easily without consequences, so she was very afraid. Looking at Mira, Jack realized that she would not be able to get down on her own. He had to take good care of such a fragile and small female. So without thinking twice, he immediately jumped onto the tree and picked up the female in his arms. When Mira came down from the tree with her in her arms, she was covered only by a single cloth that Jack had given her. Having asked Mira for a knife, the tiger immediately began to cut up the huge carcass of the boar. Having separated the skin from the flesh, he carefully cleaned it and pounced on the girl. This was supposed to protect her from the cold. Suddenly, in Mira's head, the ringing sounded again, the system notifying her about the received trophy and about a new task, having completed which she would receive a reward. Jack noticed that the girl was looking into the distance, so he asked what had caught Mira's attention. But the girl did not decide to tell the male about the system, so she simply thanked him for his concern. Jack really liked the girl's responsiveness and gratitude. He wanted to take care of the female and asked her to be patient a little, because as soon as they got to the wolf tribe, he would buy her clothes. Mira didn't understand what Jack was talking about or what kind of wolf tribe this was, so the male immediately explained to the girl that this was the place where wolves lived. The tiger also told her that in this place you can buy clothes and everything you need. The main character was pleasantly surprised, because there could have been ordinary people in this city. But Jack knew nothing about ordinary people. He had never heard of such people. The girl was upset by this news because it turns out that there are no ordinary people in this world. The male was not very concerned about the girl's experiences. He wanted to feed the female as soon as possible. Mira didn't want to eat the raw meat of a boar that was killed in front of her eyes, so she immediately refused. Realizing that the girl would not eat raw meat, he immediately went in search of other food. 10 minutes later, the white tiger returned with fresh fruits and berries. Mira did not refuse such food, so she immediately began to eat fresh fruits and berries. Jack was amazed, because he thought that Mira was also a beast man, so he could not believe that she only ate fruits and berries. Then he began to think that she was a hare or a deer, but the girl only joked. Mira explained that she does not eat raw meat, so she refused Jack's offer. The tiger was pleasantly surprised that such a weak female could cook. He wanted to feed her properly. There was nothing to cook in this world, so Mira didn't know how to best cook meat. First of all, she needed fire. Jack was a little scared that the little female needed such a dangerous fire. Mira didn't see anything wrong with it. She thought the tiger had never seen it before, so she asked Jack if he knew what it was. Jack knew what fire was and that its destructive power frightened the orcs, so he agreed to get some fire for the female. The white tiger was already ready to go in search of means for kindling, but Mira stopped him because she knew that they could make fire by rubbing sticks together. The main character sat down on the ground and began to rub the sticks against each other. This lasted about 5 minutes. For about 30 minutes now, she has been trying to make fire, but to no avail. But even after 40 minutes, Mira was unable to get fire in this way, so she got angry and gave up this activity. Jack did not want the little female's hands to be hurt, so he kissed her tender hand and said that he would get her some fire. He hugged her and made it clear that he would get her anything she wanted, because she was now his woman. Mira was not very happy with this news. She was not ready to become someone's woman so suddenly. The embarrassed girl pushed the tiger away because she wanted to put up with such impudent words. She couldn't take her eyes off the handsome male who had been convincing her all this time that she had nothing to worry about as long as he was by her side. Taking her hand, he licked the tips of his fingers. The embarrassed girl was shocked and could not move. Her heart beat faster and faster. Mira continued to look at the tiger and think that in front of her was such a powerful beast, but at the same time so gentle and caring. The main character's parents died when she was still a child, although she was adopted by her uncle, and since then she has never had a home. And then she grew up, lived and worked alone, so she had long since gotten used to a world where no one would protect her. The girl was amazed by such care. No one had ever worried about her as much as Jack, whom she had just met. Jack was very concerned about the fragile female's condition. He felt that the girl needed warmth and care, so each time he pressed her tighter. He was so warm, and his embrace was so gentle. Mira felt such tenderness for the first time after the death of her parents. But Mira quickly calmed down and came to her senses, pushed Jack away, assuring him that everything was fine. She still couldn't get over the tender and warm feeling of care that emanated from the white tiger. Having placed the girl on his back and turned into a tiger, Jack headed to the wolf tribe, because first he wanted to show them the body of the fragile female. The tiger was worried about the girl's health. Since she had already lost consciousness twice, he was sure that she needed to visit a doctor. Mira didn't know how to convince the tiger that she was okay, because she couldn't say that she was fainting from fear. Jack continued to assure the fragile female that she was not in danger with him. She was his woman. The girl was not delighted by such loud statements. She was not yet ready to accept the fact that she was someone's. At that moment, Mira suddenly remembered the mission and the task of the system, upon completion of which she would receive a reward. So she asked Jack for 2 animal skins. Jack immediately agreed and, having lowered the girl to the ground, went hunting. An hour later, he brought the female 5 whole skins. Turning into a human, Jack decided to help remove the bloodstains from the skins, but Mira was not prepared for such a sudden transformation into a human. Looking at Jack, the girl noticed a wound on his arm. The tiger did not worry about such a minor wound, but Mira couldn't look calmly at the white tiger's wound, so she went up to Jack and thanked him for the hunt. Jack calmed the female down and continued to say that she was his woman and she didn't need to thank him for the hunt. The heroine found this amusing. The large white tiger in human form looked more like a cat that liked to rub and cuddle. Having finished caressing, Jack went to separate the skin from the boar's body and remove the bloodstains so that there would be no smell left. Suddenly, when Jack left, Mira received a system notification, which informed the girl about the completion of the mission. The voice in the heroine's head spoke to her. Now she can get a beginner's kit. Having received the set, she immediately opened it and some kind of bag appeared in her hands. Opening the bag, Mira found sticks in it. She did not understand what they were for and considered them a useless object. But as soon as she took them in her hands, they began to burn. Then the girl realized that this was the source of the fire. She also received an encyclopedia about ancient animals and plants. At this point, Jack had already finished working on the skins and returned to Mira. Mira didn't want to show her trophies, so she hid them right away. Jack noticed that his little female had a little secret, but he didn't say anything. He was sure that they had plenty of time and he would slowly and surely unravel all her secrets. After some time, they finally came to the wolf tribe. Every 10 days, the wolf tribe holds a fair where nearby beastmen come to exchange their goods for more useful things. Looking at everything that was happening, Mira was amazed by the beastmen because compared to her, they were simply gigantic in stature. Suddenly, someone grabbed her by the hood of her cape and lifted her up. The girl was frightened and very surprised by such strength. Jack was the one who suddenly picked up Mira. Women in this world were considered precious, and people like her could easily get into trouble. Suddenly, Mira heard loud screams. Turning around, she noticed how one female was rejecting a male, and he was tearfully begging her for forgiveness. The main character couldn't believe her eyes. All the males were circling around one female. Then Jack explained that women are precious and that dozens of male wolves surround the females. Their status is so high that they are allowed not to even work. But Mira was scared by all this, because among such a large number of men there were probably perverts. Jack calmed the girl down and asked her not to worry. He wanted to show her to the doctor to make sure that his woman was healthy. From the wolf tribe, one young wolf turned his attention to Jack. He knew him as a loner, so he was surprised to see a stranger in his arms. Arriving at the doctor, Jack immediately asked him to examine his partner. Mira looked at the old man without taking her eyes off him. For her, he looked like Santa Claus. The old man was shocked by Jack's behavior. He immediately rushed to the girl to question her. But the white tiger did not allow his woman to be harmed. He stood up to protect her and covered her with his large body. The doctor was outraged by the tiger's behavior. He did not want to harm the young girl. He just wanted to question her. The old man was upset. He felt sorry for his clan and the young wolves, because Jack did not want to share his woman with anyone. Mira sat quietly and calmly watched the old man's strange behavior. Having finished the examination, the doctor gave his conclusion. The body of the little female was healthy, but the bones were too weak, so he took berries from his bag. The girl was pleasantly surprised by such care. She could not simply accept the fruits, but the old man assured her that she could calmly accept these gifts and that he did not want to receive anything in return. While handing over the fruits, the healer did not miss his chance to tell about the young and tender wolves of his clan. The tiger didn't really like the old man's initial behavior. Mira noticed this, so she didn't answer the doctor. The old man was so pleased with the little female that he personally volunteered to set up a safe room for her. Jack immediately grabbed his female and lifted her into his arms, thereby showing that he himself could take care of his woman's safety. After the couple visited the doctor, they went to get the clothes that Mira needed so much. The heroine examined and touched the clothes. They were made simply, but from real leather. Mira wasn't happy with the clothes, but it was much better than walking around completely naked. The girl hoped that there were at least needles and threads in this world, because the beastman's clothes were too big for her. Less than half an hour later, she was able to obtain stone needles and threads with which the girl could hem her clothes. She also remembered that there were pins in her hair that could help her. At this time, Jack was already asking the seller if they had clothes in a smaller size and offered to pay accordingly. The seller was incredibly happy with the buyer's generosity because for one such crystal, he could buy all the clothes in the store. But then, unexpectedly, Mira announced that she was ready. Everyone turned around and were ready to look at the girl's new outfit. The little female felt awkward in such a revealing outfit, but she looked great. The males were simply stunned by the beautiful image of the female. They could not take their eyes off her. Mira was embarrassed by her image. She thought she looked strange. But Jack reassured her, saying that her image was unusually beautiful, just like her. The embarrassed girl made excuses because she had altered the outfit herself, since initially all the clothes presented to her were too big. Mira was also concerned about the issue of shoes, but the men did not understand what the girl was talking about. The heroine was amazed that in this world all the people walk barefoot. She did not understand how the inhabitants did not feel pain when walking. Jack kept his eyes on the fragile female. Her skin was soft. No wonder she was concerned about the issue of shoes. He wanted to take care of his female, so he immediately asked the seller for some thread and needles and an animal skin. Mira received everything she could make shoes from. She was amazed by the tiger's attentiveness. He always knew what she wanted. Even though she found herself in an unfamiliar world, she was not afraid around him. Suddenly, when the couple had finished shopping, someone addressed the tiger as the White Emperor. The young wolf told Jack that he and his woman were invited to visit the healer Lewis. The tiger immediately refused the invitation because he knew that in the wolf tribe there were many males and very few females, and it was dangerous for his woman here. The male wolves kept their eyes on the small and fragile female. It was too dangerous. Jack could not allow this to happen. Therefore, having lifted the girl into his arms and placed her on his shoulder, he decided to quickly leave the wolf tribe. At this time, a young wolf, Jack's friend Oliver, returned from hunting, and was immediately informed that a small female had appeared in the tribe, but the male was not interested. Returning to his cave, he heard strange sounds coming closer. The male was stunned by what he saw. While he was hunting, the female was surrounded by others. He could barely contain his anger and could not say anything against it. The female was lying on a bed and was being pleasured by a small group of males. Oliver hated the rotten body of the female that passed from hand to hand every time he went hunting, but most of all, he hated the fact that it was his mother. Throwing the game he had just caught on the floor, he rushed away. Oliver hated all women because he believed that they were all the same, lazy and greedy. At this time, Jack and Mira had already left the wolf tribe and decided to stop in a cave nearby. The tiger was going to hunt, so to make it more comfortable for his female to sit, he brought soft grass. He asked Mira to be obedient and stay in the cave, waiting for his return. The big tiger left, and now Mira could calmly experiment with the items she received for completing the task. She managed to get a fire, and since there was some meat left, she decided to cook it. While cooking, the girl began to read the encyclopedia, which contained a lot of information about the conditions of this world. In this world, spiritual beasts are descended from ordinary beastmen. They are very strong, and females, on the contrary, are weak, but very rare, so each of them has several partners. Mira was not very happy with this information. She understood that in this world, women practice polyandry. Even in the book, the girl learned what the fruits that the doctor gave her were used for. After closing the book, Mira felt an unpleasant smell. She still did not understand where it came from, so she followed the unpleasant aroma. Having found the source of the unpleasant smell, she realized that all her food was burnt. Jack was already returning to the cave and noticed something burning in it. He was worried, because his woman was still inside. Returning to the cave, the tiger found his female doing something strange. She was covered in soot. So worried, Jack, in a loud voice, told the little female to go away, because there was a fire in the cave. Mira tried to calm the male down and explained that she had lit the fire herself to cook food. Jack couldn't keep calm. He knew that fire was very dangerous and would burn everything to the ground. Realizing that the tiger would not calm down so easily, Mira immediately decided to let Jack try her cooking. Chewing the cooked meat, the tiger could not believe that food could be so tasty. Mira bragged about her cooking. She had worked hard, and now she would feed the male some fried meat. Jack quickly ate all the supplies and immediately began to fry a new batch of meat, no longer fearing the fire. He believed that it was too dangerous for Mira to cook on her own, since she could get burned, so he decided to take on not only the hunting, but also the cooking. Jack gave the fragile female the most tender and delicious meat. Mira happily ate the prepared food. Mira had eaten so much that she couldn't even move. Now she just wanted to rest. Having transformed into a white tiger, Jack immediately lay down next to the girl so that she could rest on him. The heroine was incredibly happy because the white tiger's fur reminded her of a large, warm blanket. Lying on the tiger, Mira noticed a small wound and began to worry. She wanted to bandage the wound to stop the bleeding, but Jack refused the girl's care because she was important to him, not his condition. Mira did not listen to the white tiger because for her he was already family, so she gave him the fruits and bandaged the wound. Jack was pleasantly surprised by these words. He didn't know before that females could be like this. Out of joy and care, the white tiger licked the girl as a sign of gratitude. Night fell and the heroes went to bed. Mira slept soundly on the white tiger, clinging to him. Suddenly, the girl woke up from the pain. She felt how it became warmer between her legs. Throwing the skin aside, she noticed that her period had begun. The girl was in despair. She didn't know what to do because in her world, everything was different. The noise woke up the white tiger. He sensed something was wrong and wanted to help the fragile female. But the embarrassed Mira only separated from him, because on such days, women are very sensitive. Jack was worried, so he turned into a human, approached the heroine and began to wonder what was happening to her. Mira couldn't stand this. Now she wanted to be alone, because she was embarrassed by what was happening. The tiger couldn't sit idly by because he could smell the blood coming from the girl's crotch. An embarrassed Mira explained that bleeding was normal and nothing to worry about. The white tiger could not calm down because bleeding was a great danger for him. He knew nothing about critical days. He remembered his past and was worried that the girl might simply die from blood loss. So he immediately grabbed her and lifted her in his arms, wanting to get her to the doctor as quickly as possible. The girl was in a panic. She didn't know how to explain to the tiger that she was okay and that similar things happen to females. At this time, the wounded Oliver was at the doctor's and was bandaging his wounds. The doctor complained that the young wolf was so often wounded while hunting that all the old man's supplies were quickly running out. The old man scolded the wolf because he spent all his energy on hunting and did not care about himself at all. He advised him to find a woman already. The confused wolf did not want to listen to the old man because he considered all women the same and hated them. The doctor understood that the young man hated women because of his father's death. He tried to explain to him that not everyone is like his mother. But the young wolf did not even listen to the doctor. The very thought of his mother already irritated him. So he ended the dialogue and immediately headed towards the door to leave the old man. The doctor didn't like the wolf's impudent behavior and called him a scoundrel because the old man had not yet finished the treatment. The old man was upset with Oliver because he was the leader of the clan and was not at all interested in reproduction. At this time, Jack, holding Mira in his arms, approached the doctor. He was worried about his female. Mira tried all the way to explain to Jack that she was okay, but it was all in vain. There was no stopping him. The white tiger was worried about the condition of his woman and asked the doctor for help. The girl continued to convince everyone around her that she was fine, but no one believed her. Even the doctor did not know about such an interesting fact about women, so he wanted to examine Mira. In order to find out the cause of the bleeding, the doctor began to question the girl and inquire what clan she was from. Mira didn't know what to answer, so she simply said that she was human. The old man had never heard of such a clan. He only knew about monkeys, but not about people. Then Mira began to explain that the monkeys were her ancestors and that their clan came from them. The doctor did not know what was the best thing to do, so he suggested that the girl stay in his house so that he could observe her condition for a few days. Jack was not against it, so he immediately agreed. To ease the girl's suffering, the old man offered Mira red berries which tone the blood. The heroine did not refuse the medicine and took it, thanking the doctor. The old man was pleasantly surprised by the female's behavior. She had a gentle nature and was not so arrogant, not at all like other females. The healer looked at the girl without looking away. It was clear that he liked her, and he wanted to introduce her to the leader of the wolf tribe, Oliver. But Jack was hostile and could allow his woman to be taken by someone else. The next day, Mira began to make underwear for herself, since there were enough skins. As soon as she started sewing, every time she pierced the skin with a needle, she pricked herself and cried. Jack couldn't calmly watch his woman suffer. He wanted to help. So, taking the needle and skin from Mira's hands, he began to sew underwear for her. It seemed that the white tiger could do everything. He skillfully held a needle in his hands and his ties looked professional. Having finished his work, the tiger offered his female to try on the underwear he had made. Mira liked the tiger's work. The panties turned out beautiful and she couldn't wait to try them on. Having tried on the new panties, Mira was pleased. The added inserts of soft fabric were enough. Now she was sure that she could live a full life and not worry about critical days. Jack was embarrassed. He liked the image of his woman so much that he could not say a word. While Mira was spinning around, showing off her new outfit, Jack noticed the girl's beautiful butt. The girl was embarrassed by the tiger's intense gaze, so she immediately covered herself and stepped aside. The heroes quickly calmed down, taking the remaining leather in their hands. Jack suggested making shoes from it. His female's feet were tender. He wanted to take care of her, so he asked permission to measure her foot size. Mira allowed Jack to measure her foot size. When he touched her feet, she experienced unusual sensations. The white tiger, kneeling, was closely examining the girl's small foot and estimating how much leather would be needed for the shoes. From such a thorough examination, the girl's leg began to go numb. She already wanted it all to end as soon as possible. After finishing his inspection, Jack immediately went to make shoes for his woman. Mira's shoes were beautiful. They looked stylish and comfortable. The girl was amazed by such a work of art. The shoes were not only well made, but also thought out. Mira immediately tried on her new shoes and showed them off to Jack. The white tiger could not take his eyes off the fragile female. She was beautiful in everything and looked wonderful. The girl liked the shoes so much that she suggested that Jack make the same ones. But Jack refused the offer because it would be inconvenient during the transformation. But Mira didn't mind imagining a big white tiger in boots. At this time, Oliver was collecting medicinal herbs for the old man. Entering the doctor's house, he noticed someone sneaking around and trying to find something. Mira was simply looking for the ingredients she needed, since the doctor allowed her to stay in the house for a couple of days. Oliver didn't know about this and mistook the young female for a thief, so he immediately grabbed she was a thief and that even her males would not help her, since the leader of the tribe was standing in front of her. To make the wolf let the girl go, she came up with a cunning plan, with the help of which she was able to distract Oliver's attention. As soon as the tribal leader was distracted, the girl immediately attacked him in the lower jaw. The young wolf was stunned by the behavior of the fragile female. He believed that no woman could touch him. Then Mira decided to demonstrate all her skills to the leader and show that she had combat skills. Oliver was furious. The female's behavior irritated him. He wanted to kill her. Mira saw all the anger in the male's eyes. She immediately became scared, so she decided not to provoke the wolf further. The frightened girl decided that she could escape from the wolf that was about to tear her to pieces. But the leader could not allow this and immediately grabbed the young lady by the hair, thereby preventing her from escaping. Touching the girl's hair, Oliver was surprised. He had never touched such soft and smooth hair. The young wolf could not contain his feelings. The girl in front of him was so magical and beautiful. He immediately hugged her and felt the sweet aroma. She was not like other females. The young wolf was embarrassed by his behavior. He did not expect such sensitivity from himself. But the girl did not want to be in the arms of a strange man, so she tried in every way to get out. Having escaped from the chieftain's embrace, she immediately moved away. The wolf did not understand what was wrong with him, because nothing like this had ever happened before. Oliver was embarrassed by his actions, so he decided not to dwell on the girl's actions and let her go. Mira was outraged by the wolf's behavior. She had done nothing to warrant anyone telling her what to do. Taking the clay pot in her hands, the girl continued to insist that she was right and also threatened the wolf. The wolf did not like such impudent behavior of the female. He wanted to punish her and put her in her place. Suddenly, a doctor intervenes in their dispute and stops the enraged wolf, who was about to attack the fragile female. The old man scolded the tribal leader like a child because he believed that the young wolf had no right to harm such a beautiful female. The doctor was displeased with Oliver's order because he had originally planned to leave this young and fragile female in the tribe to get to know the leader. Oliver didn't know what to do. He considered the girl a thief and tried to stop her. But the old man did not listen to the excuses of the young and inexperienced wolf, so he immediately threw him out the door. The doctor apologized to the girl. He did not want the young female to leave the tribe because of a stupid leader. The old man continued to justify Oliver's actions and talked about how their leader was strong and talented. Mira wasn't angry at the tribe's leader. She just didn't like the fact that she was being falsely accused of theft. The doctor couldn't stop admiring her. He liked the fragile female who was still so merciful and kind. But the old man was disappointed. His plan could never be realized now because Oliver had ruined everything. The medicine man couldn't leave things as they were, so he continued to praise the chief. But Mira no longer listened to the old man because Jack had returned. As soon as she noticed the white tiger, the girl immediately rushed into his arms. Jack brought Mira's things. The girl thanked the tiger, but most of all she was worried about why he was gone for so long. The tiger explained that he was late because he was cleaning the skins, as his woman liked to collect them. The girl was shocked by this news. She felt like a monster because she couldn't say that she needed them for the mission. So Mira decided to tell Jack that there were enough skins and she didn't need any more. Jack looked at the little female and realized that she really did hold a lot of secrets. And the white tiger also collected a bouquet of roses for his fragile woman. He didn't know if she would like them, but he did it for her anyway. The girl happily accepted the flowers. She was so happy that her joy knew no bounds. The old man who was watching this whole beautiful picture was in despair, because his Oliver was not even close to the White Emperor. After everything, the heroes decided to go outside to take a walk and breathe some fresh air. Mira was happy. She was having fun and exploring new territories like a child, and Jack was looking after her. From the bushes, a young leader watched the couple. He was interested in the fragile female. He was amazed that a girl could be so sweet and beautiful. Oliver felt guilty because he had wrongly accused Mira of stealing and also thought that she now hated him. The young wolf collected red berries for her, but did not know whether the girl would accept them from him. Therefore, squeezing the bag of berries, he threw it right in front of the girl. The heroine was frightened by such a sudden fall of the bag. Mira didn't know what was inside, so Jack took the bag in his hands and decided to see what was inside for himself. Inside, he found a large number of red berries and assumed that perhaps they were for Mira. The heroine was surprised. She didn't expect to receive something like this from someone. Jack offered Mira to eat these berries, but she refused, as she had already eaten enough medicine and decided that it would be better to offer them to the healer. The white tiger did not argue with the girl and agreed to give the berries to the old man. When they went to the doctor's house, the tiger asked an indecent question that made Mira embarrassed. The girl claimed that it takes her 5 days to leave the blood, and now it's only the 2nd day, so it's too early to ask such indecent questions. Returning to the doctor's house, the couple immediately gave the old man a bag of medicinal berries. Mira explained that when they went out for a walk, someone threw this bag at her feet. The old man immediately realized that the gift was for a girl, so he immediately decided to give the berries to Mira. Mira did not object, and the old man went about his business. At this time, the young leader sat on the mountain and guarded his territory. The doctor immediately understood who the berries were from, so he immediately headed towards the young leader. Sitting in the bushes, he continued to pester the young wolf because he kept talking about how he hated women. Oliver was embarrassed. He did not want to admit that it was he who picked and gave the girl the berries. But the doctor could not be fooled because the smell of the young leader remained on the bag and berries. The wolf realized that he would not be able to avoid answering, so he began to justify himself and convince the doctor that he had collected the berries for him while he was hunting. Then the old man decided that since they were for him, after all, he would take them from the girl, but the young wolf stopped him. The doctor had no intention of stopping and continued to confuse the leader with his bold statements. But the wolf claimed that this gift was an apology for the mistake he had made. After these words, the embarrassed Oliver ran away from the old man, which the doctor was not particularly happy about. But still, the old man believed that he had a chance to bring these two together, so he did not lose hope and continued to think out a plan. After 5 days, Mira was finally free from the heavy burden of all women and felt great. Now they were ready to leave the wolf clan, which the girl was very happy about. But the old man cared so much about his leader that he tried with all his might to keep the young female in the tribe. Therefore, the doctor decided to remind the White Emperor that winter was approaching. Jack knew that winter was still about 2 months away, so it was too early to stop with the tribe. The doctor continued to claim that the White Emperor was wrong because the climate had changed and winter would come earlier. The stars said so, and the stars cannot be wrong. The white tiger was suspicious of the old man and could not trust him completely. The bell rang again in Mira's head, notifying her of new system tasks. All the heroine's thoughts were about winter. She believed the doctor's words and was worried that the winter would really be cold. Jack also thought about the old man's words, because he himself could cope with the cold winter, but he couldn't with a small female. The doctor suggested that the couple stay with the tribe. There was enough food and a place to spend the night. The white tiger was grateful to the doctor for the offer, because it would be much safer for the little female to spend the winter with the tribe. Mira waited for Jack to announce his decision. At that moment, she looked only at him. Holding the girl close, Jack announced his decision. They would leave after the end of winter. The doctor was incredibly happy about this and even volunteered to help in choosing a place to spend the winter. In Mira's head, the bell rang again, informing her of the mission and conditions. The house must be no less than 40 square meters, and it must also have a bed, table, chairs, and cabinets. Once outside, Jack explained to Mira that the wolf tribe was actively preparing for winter. They dug wide passages inside the Rocky Mountain, and these passages are full of caves. Mira compared it to an underground labyrinth. She was not entirely happy with this news, because there was little light in the caves. To prevent the fragile female from getting hurt, Jack hugged her and told her to follow him. The old man said that the couple could choose any place for themselves and dig a cave of any size. The main thing was not to dig in other people's houses. Jack immediately turned into a large white tiger to dig a cave. In his tiger form, he began to tear down the walls and build a home for his mate. Having finished, he suggested that Mira look around to see if a cave of this size would suit her. Mira was pleased with the work done. She also suggested making 2 bedrooms. One would be the master bedroom, and the second would be a bedroom and kitchen. After some time, Jack finished digging the cave, so Mira was already sitting quietly inside and arranging a new home. She only regretted one thing, that there was no sewerage system here, because then she could have made a toilet. The edges of the walls were so smooth, Jack had polished them well. Standing right in front of the big tiger, Mira was pleased with her new house. Only the furniture was missing. The girl suggested making the furniture out of wood. Jack immediately agreed and suggested going into the forest. Having gone into the forest, the heroes collected and processed wood to make furniture from it. Having finished processing the wood, they headed to their home. But when they approached the house, they were very surprised. While they were gone, another cave formed nearby, and now the heroes have neighbors. Mira was shocked to see her new neighbor, but Oliver didn't see anything strange about it. Mira returned to the house and was already polishing the furniture. She was outraged by the new neighbor. The young wolf was impudent and self-confident, and claimed that he had the right to dig a cave wherever he wanted, which irritated the girl greatly. To distract his female from her heavy thoughts, Jack attracted her attention and asked her to evaluate the new bed that he had built himself. Mira immediately went to inspect the bed. She really liked the new bed. The girl was happy. She thanked the tiger for his efforts and praised him in every possible way and hugged him. The walls were thin, and Oliver heard everything perfectly well. He could not sit still, listening to the female praising the tiger. The wolf pressed his ears to his head so as not to hear anything. He did not understand why he dug a cave next to this female, because he hates women. Confusion did not leave his face. He did not understand his own feelings and was confused about them. Suddenly, the wolf heard some rustling from the neighboring cave. He became interested, so he decided to spy on his neighbors. Mira and Jack headed into the forest together to get a new batch of boards. Oliver didn't want to just watch, so he immediately followed them. Jack immediately got hold of the necessary materials for the house and informed his female about it. Mira was pleased with the material. She couldn't be happier, because the home improvement was nearing completion. The couple was so happy, they hugged each other all the time and didn't leave each other's side. All this time, the young leader watched the couple with envy. He liked the female, but he could not admit it. He thought his ears and claws were good too, so he didn't understand why the little female didn't ask him for help. Mira followed her tiger closely and did not lag behind. At that moment, she was happy. There were a lot of boards, so we would have to go back several times to carry everything back to the cave. The girl offered to stay in the forest to look after the material, but the tiger refused such an offer because he knew that the forest was dangerous. But the heroine did not agree with the tiger because she could not allow anyone to steal the material for the furniture. Jack did not argue with the female and took her side, lifting her up in his arms. Having lifted the girls in his arms, he climbed the tree and left the young lady there to watch over the material from a safe place. And the white tiger himself, unlike the animal, went to take all the boards to the cave. Mira was not going to waste time and began reading the encyclopedia. Oliver continued to watch the little female. He did not understand what she was doing, but he was very interested. The young wolf did not take his eyes off the girl. He was worried because the tiger had left her alone in such a dangerous place. She had such a small body, she could easily fall and get hurt. These thoughts did not leave the head of the young leader. Suddenly, a purple mutant spider began to descend towards the girl, which was very dangerous. Mira, sitting on a tree, noticed a spider and became very scared, starting to scream. Out of fear, she jerked and lost her balance, thereby starting to fall from the tree. The young wolf was nearby and watching Mira, so as soon as he noticed that the girl was falling, he immediately rushed to help and caught the young lady. Mira was unhappy that she had again encountered the wolf who had falsely accused her in the healer's hut. Oliver held Mira's fragile body and did not want to let go, but the girl resisted. She did not want to stay in the wolf's arms. The wolf really liked the smell of the female. He could not restrain himself and began to sniff her. The heroine escaped from the clutches of the tribal leader and immediately moved away. She considered him strange. Oliver looked only at the fragile female and suddenly noticed that the purple spider wanted to attack her again. As soon as the male noticed that the female was in danger, he immediately rushed to protect her. The leader of the wolf tribe saved the girl and ordered her to hide, but the girl did not want to listen to him. She was worried not only about her own life. After telling the girl to run away, the chieftain turned into a wolf and stood up to defend her. In his wolf form, Oliver was much stronger, so he was able to easily deal with the purple spider. Mira looked at the wolf and did not look away. She liked the beautiful silver fur. The girl thanked Oliver for saving her, and her opinion of him changed. But Oliver didn't need words of gratitude. He wanted more for saving his life. He wanted to spend the night with the female. The heroine was embarrassed and outraged by such impudent behavior of the wolf. She believed that he deliberately continued to humiliate her with such desires. The girl regarded this rescue as payment for unfounded accusations. But the wolf thought otherwise. Since the girl was still there, it meant she wanted to spend the night with him. Mira's indignation knew no bounds. She was furious at the wolf's stupid statements. The girl couldn't stand it anymore because of her anger, so she turned around and walked away from the leader. Oliver was all sweaty. It was obvious that he was in pain because he had been injured by a spider. He never thought that such a miserable death would befall him. If the tribesmen had found out about it, they would have laughed at him. Mira wasn't so cold-blooded and cruel. She noticed that the wolf's condition had changed, so she went back to check on the tribe leader. Oliver didn't understand why the young female had returned. Had she changed her mind? But the girl destroyed the wolf's hopes by saying that she had returned for her thing. At this moment, the heroine noticed the wolf's condition. It was clear that he was feeling unwell. The young leader did not want the girl to come close to him and worry about him, so he began to push her away in every possible way. Mira was not afraid of the wolf's attacks. She wanted to help him and was serious in her intentions. The wolf didn't want to admit that he needed help, so he asked the girl to leave. The heroine, without thinking twice, decided to leave and return with medicine. Oliver did not believe that the female could help him because he considered them all the same. His father died because of a female. He could not even think that he would repeat the fate of his father. Mira returned to the scent wolf with medicinal herbs. She sincerely wanted to help him and save him. As she approached the male, she noticed that he had lost consciousness from the pain. Luckily, the book had notes about purple spiders, so Mira found the right detox medicine. Oliver woke up from the pain in his wound. He couldn't believe that he was still alive. Mira noticed that the young wolf opened his eyes, which meant that she was doing everything right. The male could not believe that the little female had returned. It seemed to him that these were all deathbed hallucinations. After finishing the treatment, Mira began to check the wolf's well-being and show him her fingers. Oliver still didn't believe that this girl had come back to save him. She was completely different, not like the other females. The girl stood right in front of him like a goddess who had saved his life. Now they are definitely even, because he just saved her and she saved him. Oliver modestly and quietly thanked the girl for saving him. He didn't know what else to say at such moments. But Mira pretended not to hear and asked to repeat the words of gratitude. This made the embarrassed wolf furious. He didn't want to repeat it again, so this time he insulted the girl. Mira became angry and began to argue with the young leader, claiming that he was a stupid wolf who did not take care of his life. At that moment, Jack came to the girl's screams. He didn't understand what was happening, so he immediately asked what happened. Jack was looking for Mira, so he didn't come alone, but with a group of other male wolves. Everyone was shocked by what they saw. They knew how dangerous the purple spider was and could not believe that their leader defeated it. The white tiger hugged his female and thanked Oliver for saving Mira. Addressing the young leader, he promised that in the future he would definitely thank him for saving the female. The young leader understood that although the tiger was thanking him, he was hinting that he should not even think about approaching his female. And also, the tiger specifically found males who already had females, so they would not be tempted and would not act according to the rules. The males exchanged glances. They saw each other as competitors. Returning home, Mira was pleased with the work done. It became cozy and beautiful. The mission was completed, and the system notified the girl about it. As a reward, Mira received a small pot and a spatula for cooking. The heroine was incredibly happy about this. Now she could cook something delicious. Jack was interested in the kitchen utensils. He didn't know what they were made of, so he wasn't sure how to use them properly. Mira assured that everything was safe, and the kitchen utensils were made of metal, so this time nothing would burn. She decided to cook something tasty and let Jack try it. Jack sat right next to the cooking area and inhaled the delicious aroma of the food. Having finished cooking, Mira immediately invited the white tiger to try her creation first. The white tiger was pleased. He had never tried anything like this before. Mira also wanted to take food to her neighbor as a token of gratitude for saving her life. But Jack couldn't let the female near the young wolf, so he volunteered to bring him some food himself. Having come to the neighbor, the white tiger immediately called the wolf. He wanted to quickly thank the leader and leave. When Oliver opened the door, he was not happy to see the white tiger and showed his displeasure with his whole appearance. Jack ignored the wolf's cheeky behavior and simply passed the soup. The young wolf was surprised. He had never seen such a dish. Although the wolf was happy with the food, he was not happy that it was the white tiger who brought it to him. Evening came. Mira was happy. She had eaten her fill, and the day had been productive and challenging. Jack was also pleased with the day. He thanked his female for the delicious food. Mira couldn't take her eyes off Jack. She thought he was incredibly handsome and admired him. Jack was glad that his female liked him. It was important to him. The heroine was embarrassed by such flirting, so she immediately went to bed. The tiger was not against such an unexpected decision. He immediately agreed. Approaching Mira, he accepted her and, looking her straight in the eyes, suggested sleeping together. That night, Jack and Mira slept together. The girl slept with a man for the first time. She felt not entirely comfortable, but still she was pleased. Lying on her side, the heroine could not fall asleep for a long time. She kept thinking about the conversation with Jack. The white tiger was worried about the safety of the female, so he thought about how to make their home an impregnable fortress. Jack asked such strange questions. Mira didn't know how to take them. The white tiger believed that the female did not like his body or that his smell was unpleasant to her. The girl was put in an awkward position because she liked Jack, but she couldn't say it directly. Jack gave the girl a choice of sleeping on the right side or the left. The embarrassed person did not think long about the answer and immediately said that she would sleep on the left side. She was so embarrassed that she thought of escaping from the clutches of the white tiger. But she had no strength. The girl was very tired after such a hard day and was already falling asleep. Suddenly, she felt something strange. The girl could not understand what it was, but something was definitely pressing against her. Nothing could be seen in the darkness, so Mira decided to find out what it was and touched it with her hand. From such gentle and unexpected touches, Jack suddenly moaned. Mira couldn't believe that she had touched something sacred. The shock had taken away her sleep as if by magic. The embarrassed girl continued to apologize to the tiger. She didn't even think that it could be him. Jack didn't say anything. He just pressed himself against the fragile female because he wanted her so much. The white tiger touched the girl's tender skin and licked her neck. From such gentle touches, Mira could not restrain herself. Her voice sounded throughout the bedroom. The tiger continued to cuddle up to the girl. He liked to touch the fragile female. Mira could not stand such advances from the white tiger and decided to run away from him into the next room. Jack didn't want to let the girl go into the next room. He wanted to be only with her. As he hugged her, the tiger thought that his female wanted to sleep with the young wolf. He was unhappy with this and continued asking questions about the wolf. The tiger did not want to share the female with anyone. He pressed himself closer and closer to the girl and licked her neck. The girl was embarrassed. She could not stand such gentle touches of the tiger. Her voice was bursting out. At that moment, Jack thought only about his little female. She attracted him so much that he went crazy. Mira tried to go into another room and said that she was not attracted to the young wolf. The White Emperor did not want to believe the female's words, as he did not understand why she wanted to save the leader of the wolf tribe. The girl continued to assure the tiger that she did not like Oliver and asked him to stop behaving like that. Jack didn't understand what Mira meant. He wanted to please her and give her pleasure. He lowered his hand lower, but this only made the girl more afraid, and tears came to her eyes. It seemed that Jack had a firm grip on Mira and did not want to let her go just like that. She could not help but think about indecent things, and it all scared her. At this time, their neighbor, a young wolf, heard everything. He could not stand such indecent sounds. Because of his sensitive ears, he heard everything as well as if he were in the same room with them. Suddenly, the young wolf heard the tiger ask about him. He was very surprised that the white tiger decided to ask such a question to a female. Also, the wolf heard Mira say that she didn't like Oliver. The chief of the tribe was broken. He liked the fragile female, although he did not want to admit it. He felt pain in his chest and could do nothing about his feelings. Lost in thought, he continued to sit alone in his cave. Morning came and Mira opened her eyes. Waking up, she immediately began to remember the night. Her body felt so invigorated, and her skin was changed. She felt the care that the white tiger surrounded her with. Continuing to remember the previous night, the girl could not help but feel embarrassed, because everything was so frank. Jack noticed that his little female had woken up. He immediately inquired about her condition and asked if she was hungry. The soup was already warmed up. He brought the plate straight to her bed, continuing to look after her. Mira was embarrassed. She liked the tiger's care, but she couldn't help but remember the previous night. The white tiger told Mira that he would soon go hunting, so as not to leave the female alone, he asked Vanessa from the wolf tribe to keep her company. Mira was very surprised that Jack decided to leave her alone with a strange wolf. The girl wanted to go hunting with the white tiger. She did not want to be left alone with a wolf she did not know. The white tiger explained to the little female that hunting was too dangerous a place for her. He also said that soon, together with other males from the wolf tribe, they would go deep into the forest to hunt for about 10 days to better prepare for the cold and stock up on food. Mira didn't expect Jack to go to such a dangerous place. She was very worried about him. Jack assured the little female that she shouldn't worry about him and that he would be fine. The heroine understood everything. She knew that by going with the tiger, she would only add extra trouble to him. The white tiger hugged his little female. He didn't want her to be sad and explained that everything has its time. Mira wanted Jack to return soon, and she also wanted him to return to her safe and sound. Jack asked Vanessa to look after the little female in his absence, but the little female was still upset. She didn't want Jack to leave. The White Emperor was calming his little female. He didn't want his little one to be upset, so he was interested in what Mira needed. Then the heroine, taking the encyclopedia in her hands, showed the tiger the herbs she needed to cook the meat. Jack quickly realized what Mira needed, so he immediately agreed. He also gave a bone knife to the little female, with which she could defend herself. Hugging the girl, he whispered in her ear, "Wait for me." Mira was embarrassed, but promised that she would definitely wait for Jack. At that moment, Vanessa suddenly entered their house and apologized for interrupting the couple's goodbye. Vanessa looked great. Her figure was perfect, and her silver ears and tail only emphasized the image of a she-wolf. After introducing the girls, Jack said goodbye to Mira once again and went hunting. He wanted to get as much game as possible so that his female could survive the winter in peace. At this time, Mira wanted to go for a walk, so she asked Vanessa to allow her to go out. Vanessa didn't think long about the girl's offer. She immediately grabbed her hand and headed for the exit. When Mira went outside, she saw that all the work was being done by old people or children. All the young males went hunting to feed the tribe. Looking around, Mira did not notice a single female. She was wondering where they all were. The local females did not work at all. They felt like the center of the universe, which confused Mira. The heroine realized that if she ate a lot and was lazy, she would look like the local females, and she didn't want that. Mira continued to ask Vanessa many questions about the household. Vanessa answered all her questions generously, but she also said that while the female was of reproductive age, she should not worry about such trifles. The heroine was shocked by such statements because she was not yet ready for children. The fragile female explained that she was simply bored and was thinking about how she could help and occupy herself. Then Vanessa made a decision. She would tan the skins together with Mira. Only males did such things, so when they saw him on the other side of the river, they were stunned. Mira carefully cleaned the skin. She did it well, and Vanessa even praised her for such an excellent job. Vanessa was a good teacher and always gave me tips on how to do better. At this time, the males were watching the females closely. They could not take their eyes off them. The males continued to watch the young and beautiful females, drooling. But Oliver noticed the inappropriate behavior of the young males and immediately began to look at them with a frightening gaze. Out of anger, the leader grabbed the young males by their tails and forced them to experience unprecedented pain. Holding the wolves by their tails, Oliver ran away with them, away from the females. Vanessa noticed that someone was hiding in the bushes. She saw Oliver among the leaves, and she asked Mira if she knew the leader of the tribe, to which the girl answered positively. Oliver only looked at the fragile female. Vanessa noticed this and told Mira. The heroine does not like the wolf at all. She believed that there was a conflict between them. But the tribe leader was not interested in Mira's violent reaction. He only wanted to know what the girl was doing near the pond. Mira thought it was none of Oliver's business, so she responded to him very rudely. Even though the girl was rude, the young leader found her voice so gentle and affectionate. His body instantly reacted to the girl's voice. Oliver could not contain his feelings. Vanessa noticed the chief blush. She couldn't believe her eyes because she knew that Oliver hated women. It was hard for Mira to drag the skin after cleaning. She put all her efforts, but she couldn't move it. Oliver noticed that the fragile female was having a hard time, so he volunteered to help, which surprised the girl greatly. Easily lifting the skin and throwing it over his shoulders, Oliver walked forward, leading Mira behind him. At first, Mira was confused. She began to lag behind the young wolf, so she asked him to wait. As she followed the leader, the girl thought that this guy was not as bad as he seemed. But these thoughts quickly disappeared because Oliver was rude to the little female again. The heroine could not catch up with the wolf. He was walking too fast for her. But Oliver claimed that this was because the small female had short legs. Vanessa watched everything that was happening. She could not believe what she saw, because she had never seen the leader behave like that. In the eyes of the she-wolf, Oliver was strong and powerful, but now he is gentle and sensitive, not at all like his former self. But now, watching him, she considered his actions stupid and illogical. Returning home later in the evening, Mira was already getting ready to cook dinner. And then she remembered that when Jack treated his neighbor, the wolf never returned the dishes. Therefore, Mira immediately went to her neighbor for her thing. When she came to her neighbor, the girl was shocked because Oliver met her in the guise of a wolf. Then, Mira immediately began to wonder why the leader was in his beast form, but Oliver explained that he was sleeping. The heroine decided not to pay attention to this. She came only to return her soup tureen. But the young wolf did not understand what the girl was talking about. He did not know what a soup tureen was. After a long explanation from the little female, the chief finally understood what the girl meant, so he headed back to the dwelling to return the bowl. Holding the soup tureen in his teeth, Oliver returned the soup tureen and also did not forget to insult the little female. The girl did not respond to the wolf's provocations and immediately left, slamming the door. The wolf was sad. This was the only thing from the little female, and he did not want to part with it. At this time, Mira had already finished preparing the vegetable soup and was already starting to eat. She was pleased with the dish. After such a hard day, the soup was especially tasty. The girl remembered the white tiger. She missed him. She wanted Jack to come back soon. Mira didn't even notice how she began to rely on the tiger for everything. Having found herself in this world, the heroine could not live a day without him. She understood that she needed to become more independent so as not to burden the tiger. While resting in his cave and almost asleep, the chief smelled the aroma of food. The aroma was so enticing that he immediately stood up and headed towards the source of the smell. There was a bowl of soup in front of his door. He couldn't believe his eyes, because he didn't expect anything from the little female. The wolf looked at the next door and thought only about Mira. He was grateful to her for her care. Without thinking twice, the wolf immediately began to taste the delicious soup from the little female. At that moment, he was happy. The days of waiting are always longer. But during these 9 days, Mira has already gotten used to the work, and tanning the skins has become much easier for her. Sitting near the pond, in the distance, she noticed a small pack of familiar wolves. Perhaps the males had returned from hunting. Jack returned. Mira immediately noticed him among the wolves and began to scream. Jumping near the river with happiness, she attracted the attention of the tiger. Jack was to see his little female. Having met him, the girl immediately rushed to hug the tiger. She missed him and waited so much that she could not hold back her tears of joy. Jack also brought Mira all the herbs she needed to make her cooking even more delicious. While sorting out the ingredients, the girl happily explained what was needed for what and what flavor it gave. She decided not to delay sorting out the herbs and immediately took up the kitchen utensils to prepare something tasty. The girl cooked for the white tiger with care and love, adding the herbs she had collected to the dish. The tiger smelled a wonderful aroma. Drooling was already running down his mouth. He wanted to taste the dish already. Having finished cooking, Mira poured the soup into bowls and invited Jack to the table. While serving the soup, the girl told about how she lived all these 10 days without the tiger. As a token of gratitude for his help, Mira asked Jack to treat the neighbor and bring the soup bowl. But Oliver got ahead of the White Emperor and came to their house without an invitation. The young chief did not expect to see Jack in the female's house and was not puzzled. Jack was confident in himself because he believed that this was his female, so he quickly put the wolf in its place. Oliver was displeased with such an impudent command of the tiger. He did not want to see him next to the female, so he quickly took the bowl and left, and as he said goodbye, Jack told the young wolf that they would live this winter in the tribe, and then leave. He also warned the wolf not to dare to flirt with his female. Oliver believed that he could do whatever he wanted, so he didn't even listen to the tiger. At this time, Mira was sitting at the table and waiting for Jack to return. Suddenly, the system rang in her head again, notifying her about the launch of the second mission. The second mission was to collect enough food before winter came. The girl was confused. She did not understand how much food she needed to collect for the system to count the mission. The world was irritated by the system, which did not provide specifics in the tasks. Then the girl began to ask Jack how much food they needed to survive the winter peacefully. Jack was calm and reasonable. He was not afraid of such questions because he was confident in himself. To calm his female, he approached her and, looking her straight in the eyes, said that he would get her as much food as she asked for. Mira couldn't take her eyes off the beautiful white tiger. His pectoral muscles were so alluring to her. Noticing that the female had calmed down, Jack suggested that after washing the dishes, they rest together. But the girl was not yet ready for a joint vacation, so she immediately went to bed. Jack was upset. All these days he missed his little female, and now she was avoiding him. He couldn't leave everything as it was, so he approached the girl and began to touch her tender body. Mira was outraged by the tiger's behavior. She was afraid of him. The White Emperor didn't care about the little female's indignation. He just hugged her because he had missed her very much all this time. Mira calmed down and reciprocated. She also missed the white tiger very much. The embarrassed couple continued to hug and cuddle each other. At some point, Jack began to tenderly kiss the little female. Mira did not avoid the kisses, but did not respond to them either. The young chief heard everything and could not contain his anger because he believed that the tiger was doing this on purpose to anger him. A new day has arrived. Jack is getting ready to go hunting again and says goodbye to Mira. The embarrassed girl saw her male off on a long journey and wished him luck on the hunt. At that moment, they met a neighbor who looked like he hadn't had enough sleep. Mira realized that the young leader had heard everything, and the realization made her blush even more. The girl blamed the tiger for the fact that the neighbor heard everything. She could not contain her anger and continued to blame Jack. Then the tiger decided that Mira would tolerate his advances next time and would not scream so loudly. The little female was embarrassed by such words, but could not say anything against it. While the girl was thinking about the answer, Jack turned into a tiger and ran off to hunt. Over the next few days, Jack hunted a lot and brought back more and more game. Everyone was amazed at the amount of game he had caught. Vanessa envied Mira because the tiger killed more than her entire family, and the she-wolf had 5 males. The heroine was shocked by this news. She didn't know that Vanessa had as many as 5 males. The she-wolf continued to boast about her males because they were the best, but Jack was the best in the wolf tribe. But Mira did not consider herself a partner of the white tiger, which greatly surprised the she-wolf. Vanessa knew that Mira slept in the same bed with a tiger and did not understand why the girl did not consider him her partner. Mira was confused. She didn't know how to explain her relationship with the white tiger. Despite the fact that they slept and ate together, and she even allowed him to behave inappropriately, the girl still did not dare to take the final step. Then Mira decided to tell Vanessa that she and Jack were just family. But the she-wolf believed that a partner was also family, so she insisted that Mira and the tiger were partners after all. The heroine continued to justify herself and deny the wolf's words because she was not ready to look for a partner in such a world. Vanessa liked Jack so much that she was ready to accept him as a sixth partner, so the she-wolf continued to sort out the couple's relationship. But Mira could not calmly refuse the white tiger. The embarrassed girl claimed that Jack could not become someone's partner. Vanessa did not accept such an answer from the girl, because if she did not like the tiger, she could give it to another female. Then Mira couldn't stand it any longer and said that she liked the White Emperor and she couldn't give him to anyone. Vanessa realized that Mira did like the tiger, and she became more and more interested in their relationship. At that moment, the heroine noticed a familiar silhouette. She did not expect Jack to return from hunting so soon. Mira was worried that the white tiger could hear her conversation with Vanessa. Thoughts about this did not leave her. The realization that Jack could hear everything that was said made Mira blush. The white tiger said nothing. He just picked up his little female and thanked the she-wolf for looking after Mira. As a token of gratitude, Jack collected a small bag of fragrant berries while hunting and gave them to the she-wolf. Vanessa was happy with this gift, so she accepted it immediately. Having taken the gift, the she-wolf said goodbye to the couple and decided to leave them alone because they had a serious conversation ahead. Mira, sitting in Jack's arms, did not know what to say. She was embarrassed by her unexpected confession. In this state, the girl only asked why the tiger returned so early. But Jack explained that he returned so early because he was very bored, and fortunately he heard the little female's confession. Mira pretended not to understand what words Jack was talking about and tried to change the subject. The white tiger continued to insist on his own. He was glad to know that the little female liked him. The embarrassed girl denied everything and said that Jack had misunderstood her. But the White Emperor heard everything, so it was useless to deny the words he had heard. To make sure once again of what he had heard, Jack directly asked Mira if she liked him. Mira was embarrassed. She couldn't answer directly, but she understood that Jack was waiting for her answer. So she decided to answer neutrally and said only that she did not feel any hostility towards the tiger. But the White Emperor was not satisfied with this answer. He wanted to understand whether the female liked him or not. To calm his feelings and give the female time to decide, Jack began to kiss her. Mira was shocked by such unexpected actions of the male and immediately stopped him. Jack was so happy to know that the little female liked him that he couldn't contain his feelings. The white tiger didn't understand why Mira stopped him. He assumed that perhaps the female didn't like kisses. But Mira was embarrassed. She was afraid that someone might see them, so she stopped the tiger. There was no one around. Mira was puzzled by this because she could not justify her actions. So she decided to say that next time before kissing, the tiger needs to ask permission to do it. After these words, the girl rushed off to clean the loot in order to distract herself and calm down. All this time, the heroine thought only about the tiger. The kiss made her heart beat faster. She could not understand her feelings. Mira couldn't come to terms with her feelings because she only had to think about how to survive in this world. Returning home, the heroine began to prepare food for the winter. She carefully dried and sorted everything. Half a month of preparation and the supplies were ready. The system's ringing sounded in her head again, notifying her that the task had been completed, and now she could receive a reward. Suddenly, the heroine found sanitary pads in her hands, and that was her reward. The girl was incredibly happy, because this is exactly what she was missing in this world. Hearing the girl's joyful cries, Jack immediately appeared and asked what had happened. Jack compared Mira to a small, cute, very diligent animal. Every day, the weather became colder. Winter was approaching, and the beastmen went hunting less and less often. But with such reserves of a pair, it was much easier for them to endure the bad weather. Wrapped in a skin, Mira was still cold and sneezed frequently. It seemed that he could easily catch a cold. Jack noticed that the little female was cold, so he offered to warm her with his body. Mira understood that Jack would warm her up easily because he was a big white tiger, so she timidly sat on his lap and snuggled up. It was clear that the girl was not entirely comfortable. She wanted to snuggle up to Jack's soft and warm fur. The tiger noticed that the girl was embarrassed, but he did not transform. He continued to warm her with his human body. With the onset of winter, other beastmen came to the wolf tribe. When Mira woke up, she didn't understand what was happening and why Jack wasn't home. The white tiger went to get water, and when he returned, he told the girl that a clan of wolves from the Black River had come to the tribe. While washing herself, the heroine asked the tiger about the wolves from the Black River, since she did not know what kind of clan they were. Jack told the girl about different tribes and clans and stroked her silky and soft hair. The world was interested in why the wolves from the Black River came to the tribe. Then the tiger explained that the leader of the Black Wolf clan was Oliver's brother and that they were originally only supposed to meet. It all looked strange and made Jack think. But the male decided not to torment himself with empty thoughts and offered to eat. At the dinner table, the tiger continued to tell Mira about the news and also informed her that her leather bag was ready. Mira was happy with her new bag. She was already thinking about how best to use it and what to put in it. Suddenly, during the meal, strangers burst into their house and began to drive the couple out. The males said that their female liked this house, so they decided to drive out the owners of the house and take it for themselves. Mira was very scared. The beastmen looked aggressive. She assumed they were from the Black River clan. Jack came to Mira's defense, standing in front of her, thereby covering her with his body. But the red fox told them to get out, because their female had taken a fancy to this place, and they, on the contrary, should be proud of it. Jack didn't give up telling them to get out. Only Mira could make him surrender unconditionally. The fox was angry. How dare he refuse them? In their opinion, he was an impudent fellow. But Jack, without saying anything, responded to the blow by grabbing his hand and twisting it back. The fox jumped back, screaming that his arm felt broken, sitting on the ground in pain. He was very angry with them, repeating that they should get out of his house as soon as possible. The guys were angry at him and what he did, saying that he would pay dearly for it. Having picked up the wounded guy, they hurried to the exit of Jack and his female's cave. Turning around, he told her not to go out, because there would soon be chaos in the wolf tribe. This means that the wolves from the Black River did not come here to visit. Robbery is their main goal. But what can they do next time? Returning, they walked through the caves. They called the female. Lying on the hay, she turned her head, asking what they needed. She ordered them to find a room next to Oliver. And what did they do? They said that the guy not only refused to give up the room, but also hit them. Evil Rachel did not understand how this male dared to refuse her and not give her what she wanted. After all, she is the most beautiful female in the Black River tribe. Everyone respects and loves her. No one has ever dared to reject her. Putting on her cloak, she said that she would see for herself who the male was who dared to reject her. Taking their subordinates, they reached the door of Jack and Mira's room. Rachel ordered the guy to knock down this wooden door because it was in her way. Mira was quietly unpacking her things when she suddenly heard the sound of a door breaking. Having knocked down the door, they looked inside and saw a small female there. Rachel was looking at her carefully. The agitated Mira did not understand why they were breaking into someone else's house without asking them to leave. This female was beautiful. Her skin was snow white, her hair was so silky, and her waist was so thin. One of the servants looked at her and said how white she was. How could she be more beautiful than Rachel? This was unforgivable. Pointing her finger, she asked where this wild female came from. Hearing this, Mira did not understand what she was talking about and why it was wild. As the Wolf Clan elder's partner, she ordered them to leave the house, as the Wolf tribe did not welcome this. She is on a rocky mountain, and even if she is the partner of the Black River elder, she should not care about the mountain. But who said that she was the partner of the river elder? Rachel claimed that she was the mistress of this place. Hearing her statement, she didn't understand since when Oliver had a partner. Jack appeared from behind, saying that he didn't care whose partner she was. The girl turned around sharply. This is his home, and the worlds must leave immediately because they are not welcome here. Mira ran up to him. He finally returned, and just in time, because they were broken into again. She whispered that this lady claims to be Oliver's partner. Does he know anything about this? Jack replied that he doesn't know. It is today that she is in love with him, and he must become her partner because that is how it should be. It seemed like it was just a fantasy. She decided to ask how Oliver, who hated females, could take someone as a partner. What a wild female. What is she saying? It would be a great honor for Oliver. He says he should be very grateful. Turning around, they saw him in the doorway. She stood up, showing off in front of him. No man could resist her. This female is the same as the others. Selfish, greedy, ruthless, she thinks the whole world will spin at her feet. Oliver is the strongest of the Rocky Mountain clan and is destined to become her 30th partner. His gaze changed. No one could resist her charm. Stroking him, she thought so. By seducing him, she knew that he came to help her drive them out. He could take care of the family. Looking at all this shame, Mira could not stand it and closed her eyes so as not to see it. Oliver clearly didn't like her words about him already being appropriated, and he got angry and pushed her away. He warned her that if she touched him again, he would rip her arms off. The partners looked at all this and could not imagine that there were males who could allow themselves to hit a female. As expected, Oliver is the most wonderful wolf in the world, Mira thought with a sigh. Rachel was furious. How dare he do this to her, whether he was a male or not. Whether he is a male or not will be decided by his partner. But she must leave. He felt sick just from looking at her. With tears in her eyes, she said that no one dares to talk to her like that. He will regret it. In tears, she ran out of the house. The servants ran after her with a cloak in their hands. Turning to them, he asked them why they didn't know at all how to fight back. He arrived before she could fight back. After all, he was her target. Oliver heard what happened at her house and immediately rushed to her. She still didn't understand it. In his own defense, he lied and said that he was passing by and heard the noise from them. Mira clearly didn't believe him, but lied and said that she thought so. Just a coincidence. Oliver realized that it was sarcasm and started yelling at her, telling her how stupid she was. Apparently, he was offended and left, but how can he just leave so calmly and that's it? Jack replied that he didn't know. Mira never understood his true intentions. He decided to fix the door, the girl agreed, because it's not very easy to live with a hole. Even though the door was fixed, it was useless against the beastmen. It would be nice if the system gave her an iron door next time. She has already gotten used to living in this world and has not been looking for a way to return home for a long time. And if she stays here, she will face something similar more than once, or something worse. Jack approached her and told her not to worry. If they came back again, he would not give them a break. He worries about her. It's so sweet. As long as he's here, she won't be afraid of anything. Rachel was crying in her room. Her partners were running back and forth so that she wouldn't cry. They brought her meat. But she didn't like anything. She kicked him with her foot, telling him to go away. They just watched as she was being abused and didn't even do anything. But this is Oliver, and they are only Black River wolves. They need to stay there to survive the winter, because only rock wolves have a cave where they can warm up. If he was her mate, this place would belong to her. They needed to tear this female apart. They were no use. They justified themselves by saying that she was a female and she was very beautiful. Her partners, with tears in their eyes, asked her not to leave them, and she kicked them away. None of them can do anything. She will have to think for herself. She needs to kill this female. After the first snow and strong winds appeared, the onset of winter was officially announced. Mira realized that winter had come, and she happily announced that it was time to eat hot soup. She began to collect all the necessary items, spices, meat, and a large cauldron. After cooking, she asked Jack to bring vegetables from the cellar for the soup. He immediately agreed. There is too much soup for both of them. Vanessa lives far away, and it is very dangerous to go outside. Looking out the door, she decided to call Oliver because he lives very close. But when she went out, she saw him in the company of people. Apparently, he was very busy. One of the guys saw her, thinking how charming a girl she was. Oliver noticed his gaze, telling him not to bother his head with her because they were busy. Already angry, he repeated, adding that he should not be angry if he was rude to him. The guy started to get angry, grinning at him, and the man next to him warned him that they were on a rocky mountain. In order not to cause problems, he began to move towards the exit, away from him. Bowing, he thanked him for listening, saying that they were leaving. Where is she going? Didn't Jack warn her not to go out? She made soup. It would be great for them all to eat together. She wanted to ask him if he would eat with them. The little female invited him to eat together. He became very embarrassed. But what is soup? This is the first time he has heard of it, and can he eat it at all? Well, if he wants it the way he wants, and also doubted her soup, how is that even possible? He shouted that he wanted to eat soup with her. How cool is it that Mira wants to eat soup with him? She told him to come in, but suddenly for some reason he became wary while looking there. Mira said that it was called soup. The water was bubbling in the cauldron, vegetables and meat were floating. Oliver saw the fire and started asking her to leave because it was dangerous there. She asked him not to worry because she did it. She called him saying that he was not dangerous, and that with the help of fire one could prepare aromatic food. Jack returned from the cellar carrying vegetables for the female, calling her closer to him. He announced that the meat was ready and they could begin their meal by sitting down near the fire. This tiger is not afraid of fire at all. He probably shows off in front of the female on purpose, and then he doesn't need to be afraid. Sitting down next to me, he looked at the soup, saying that there was nothing special about it. It smells so delicious. This meat is probably 1,000 times tastier than usual. Looking at Mira's plate, I could no longer contain my appetite because it looked amazing. But suddenly, as soon as she put a piece in her mouth, she burned herself, screaming about how hot it was. Well, why is she so hasty? Jack came over to see if everything was okay. Mira looked at him with eyes filled with tears, showing how much pain she was in. Jack moved closer, saying he would take a look. Mira insisted that everything was fine. Seeing this, Oliver dropped the meat because he also wanted to blow on these little lips. What a nightmare to burn your tongue with hot meat. She decided to ask where those 2 wolves were from. They were from the Black River tribe. His cousin and a medicine man were there. They came to talk to him about one matter. In the end, Rachel became too pushy, and he became very angry when he saw her. Mira asked what their business was, or if he couldn't talk about it. Oliver said that it was nothing bad for her. Sitting, Jack listened to them, but Oliver decided to bring something to show. He handed Mira a bamboo pipe. She didn't understand what it was. He asked to open it. There was water inside that they wanted to sell. After sniffing the contents of the flask, she realized that there was alcohol in it. This stuff warms the blood well, but you can't drink a lot of it. But that guy didn't say anything. He doesn't know himself whether it's intentional, what he has in mind. Jack asked why you can't drink a lot, because from a large amount you can easily get drunk, lose control, and eventually go crazy. In order not to do anything wrong, it's better to drink as little as possible. The guys listened to her attentively. A shocked Oliver said that it sounded serious. He would definitely remember. She wanted to know what they made it from, because then she could make it herself and sell it. For the sake of the little female he had to try, she wanted to drink too. Taking out small cups, she poured alcohol to everyone equally, thinking that this was enough. She wanted to clink glasses for the most delicious soup. It's good that in this world there is alcohol with which to celebrate. The guys looked at each other, not understanding what she was talking about. She explained everything to them. Mira is happy, and that's enough to make the boys feel good too. Jack started drinking the water, but it didn't cause him much of a shock. But Oliver thought it was strange, but tasty enough. He felt good. The friends sat, drinking alcohol, having fun, and talking all together. Looking into the flask of peace, I realized that they had drunk everything, and there was no more left. Suddenly, the guys looked at her very strangely. She asked why they were looking like that. Suddenly, Oliver started calling her very loudly. Mira also shouting, asking what he needed. He asked her to become his partner because she was very attractive to him, he told her. Apparently, he was drunk. She asked him to stop. He was talking nonsense. He needed to rest. Turning into a wolf, he talked about how much he wanted to sleep with her. Mira was shocked by his confessions of love and the fact that he wanted to sleep with her. Jack watched this and became very angry at Oliver for his words. Taking him by the scruff of the neck, he threw the gray wolf out the door and he hit the wall hard. Mira stood up for him, saying that he could be in a lot of pain. But Jack insisted that he was thick-skinned and that nothing would happen to him. He wanted to bring him home. She watched him drag it home, and it was very painful for her to watch. Jack slapped him hard on the hay, telling him to sleep soundly. Looking at him, Mira realized that he was sleeping soundly, snoring. Having picked up the girl in his arms, he wanted to go to bed with her. She did not understand what he was doing. Warmth spread through his body. Could this really be that alcohol? He put her on the bed. Pulling off his clothes, Mira asked him to wait. She asked him to wake up, smelling the alcohol. It was hot. Suddenly, he kissed her so that they would hear less of her chatter about herself. He began to quickly tear off her clothes. She screamed for him to stop. Exhaling hot breath that burned her, he spoke about how beautiful she looked. In confirmation, she said how beautiful his eyes were, lying underneath him. Blue as the stars in the night sky, he couldn't help but feel her looking at him like that. Lying there, she didn't understand why he couldn't help but look at her. He couldn't help but eat her right then and there. Looking at his actions, she thought that he was not serious. It was a joke. She screamed, asking him to stop, but he didn't listen to her at all. Feeling something near her feet, she realized what he wanted to do. She screamed loudly and asked him to stop and not do anything stupid. But he didn't stop. He talked about how much he loved her, isn't it clear? He was going to tear her apart now. She asked him to stop because she was very scared. Listening to her, he seemed to become even more merciless because these words upset him so much. In a frenzy, he tore off the last piece of clothing from her because it was in his way. This was a completely different Jack. She was very scared, not understanding what to do. She beat him, asking him to stop and wake up. He would regret it later. But he didn't listen to her at all. Continuing his actions, it hurt her. Oliver woke up with a splitting headache, but what was that noise? He heard Mira scream in pain. He seemed to understand what was happening. Jumping off, he ran as fast as he could into their house to see what all the screaming was about. He kicked the door down with all his might, and seeing what was happening there, he became very angry. Maddened, he turned into a gray wolf and quickly ran to Mira's aid. Running up, he shouted for him to let her go immediately, pulling him away from the girl. Jack was thrown back and came to his senses without understanding what was happening here. Oliver saw a naked girl. She was lying in blood, covering her body. Looking at him with tears, she spoke about how much pain she was in, asking him to take her away. Taking her in his arms, he told her not to be afraid. He would take her to the healer. As he approached, Jack asked what he had done, but Oliver yelled at him, telling him not to come any closer. She suffered greatly from him. He will take her to the doctor, and Jack needs to come to his senses. He watched Oliver run away with a girl lying in his arms. Sitting on the bed, he reproached himself for this, not understanding why he did it. The doctor made himself a mask because recently the wind had been so cold that his skin had begun to peel. Suddenly, Oliver bursts into his house, knocking down the door, calling him to come to him. Is he crazy? Why is he breaking into his house in the middle of the night? Carrying the girl, he said that she was very ill, asking him to examine her immediately. He carefully laid the girl on the bed, showing what had happened to her. Seeing this, he swung at Oliver, saying that he was an idiot, but he shouted that it wasn't him who did it. Looking at her, he asked what kind of ruthless idiot had done this to her. Oliver reported that it was Jack. The doctor could not believe that he was so soft and gentle with her. He asked to take the herbs from the jar and crush them. Oliver obeyed. Mira was unconscious. The bleeding stopped. They took action in time. She's still too young. If she really did that to him, she could die. As he was leaving, he asked the girl to rest with the doctor. But where did he go? He was angry and wanted to teach Jack a lesson for what he had done to little Mira. Suddenly he pounced on him, growling with all his might, showing how angry he was at him. Jack asked him what he was doing, but he replied that he wanted to kill him. He can't even remember anything. There's no point in killing him right now. He asked sympathetically if everything was okay with Mira. Oliver did not answer him. He hurt her so much, and he still wants to be with her after what he did. Jack doesn't deserve to have Mira as his partner, Oliver said. These words tore his heart into tiny pieces with a crash, which shattered into pieces. What did he do? Isn't he really worthy of being with Mira? A day later, Mira came to her senses and felt severe pain. Suddenly, she remembered that evening and what Jack had done to her then. As she stood up, she was shaking violently with fear because yesterday she had almost been raped. The healer asked how she felt, and when she saw him, she did not remember how she ended up there. He replied that Oliver had brought her in the evening, fortunately on time, asking if she was still in pain. Mira was in pain, but not as much as yesterday. He handed her a bowl of liquid and asked her to drink the medicine so that she would feel better. Suddenly, Oliver appeared on the threshold, carrying something in his mouth, holding it with strong teeth. Coming up, he looked at her sweetly, saying that she was completely undressed and brought her clothes. As she picked up the clothes, she remembered that Jack had made them for her, and tears came to her eyes. Oliver, seeing her crying, asked what was wrong with her and if she was still in pain. She was fine. She just drank some bitter medicine. Mira hoped that they would live as a family. Jack did such a terrible thing yesterday. How could she face him now? Seeing how sad she was, Oliver approached her, looking at her with his sweet eyes, asking to come to her. She hugged him, saying thank you. He cares for her so much and comforts her. The healer went outside for herbs. He saw Jack and decided to ask what he was doing there. In a quiet voice, worried about little Mira, he asked if everything was okay with her. He replied that she had just gotten up and should not be disturbed. As if she was frightened again, the wound might open up. Jack remembered Oliver's words that he couldn't wait to kill him, but for what he did to her, he was ready to kill himself. The healer looked questioningly, asking if he wanted to tell her something. 5 days later, Mira felt better and said she wanted to return home. But couldn't she stay for a couple more days? She refused, saying that she had to go back. She thanked him for everything he did. Jack never showed up, But that was no reason to run away. They needed to meet and clear things up. Quietly opening the door of the house, she said that she was back, looking inside. Fresh blankets and the cellar still filled, but no trace of Jack. There were mixed feelings in her head. She was upset that no one was there nearby. She decided to wait for the guy to return, heating up her soup on the fire. She would like to become his partner and spend the rest of her life peacefully with him. If she can't talk, maybe she can persuade him to become her partner. As for her illness, maybe they can become brother and sister to each other like family. No, it's too selfish. She's so worried about what to do with it. Jack never returned, and it was already dark. Mira began to worry about him. Suddenly, Oliver came out from behind the curtain, asking how she was feeling. She was fine and asked if he knew where Jack had gone. He could not hear about him. He could not hear this nasty name. He answered that he did not know where he was. She went outside. Oliver shouted and asked where she was going. Mira answered that she was going to the healer. Jack never came back. She was very worried, and it was very cold outside. He reluctantly let her go, but then he realized how coldly he had shouted that he would go with her. Jack didn't come back. She asked the healer if he knew where the boy could have gone. A couple of days ago, he talked to him and he went to get some fruits. They have nutritional properties. It's cold outside. How can he be so stupid? She'll go and get him back. She went completely crazy on the street. There was terrible frost. Oliver didn't want to let her go. As he held her, he noticed Mira's hands were shaking. Even after what he had done, she was still worried about him. He was as worried about her as she was about Jack, so he said he was going with her. She was shocked that he would go with her. Since when did he become so kind to her? They are guests of the clan, and as the head, he cannot allow their death in his settlement. The witch doctor didn't think Oliver had such a kind heart, but he only snapped. Mira's shout made him stop, and he turned around questioningly. It was cold outside. She gave him her cape and also put fire in his hands. If Jack can't be found, he must definitely come back, she asked him. Oliver froze. Embarrassed, she took care of him. Apparently, he fell in love even more. But if he comes back safe and sound, she must promise to do one thing. The boy has finally matured. Oliver sacrifices his life for her. She must promise. Mira told him he needed to return safe and sound, and then she would give him a promise no matter what. Why is it so exciting? She promised that she would do everything. He doesn't have to worry. She stood on the cliff watching Oliver climb down the rope. She prayed that Jack and Oliver would be okay, and that they would come back. He had been gone for 3 days already. Mira had been waiting for their arrival all the time. The healer asked her to go inside. It was very cold outside, and she couldn't sit there for long. Mira blamed herself. If she hadn't given them that alcohol then, Jack wouldn't have done that. It was all her fault, she repeated. But the old man encouraged her, telling her not to blame herself. It wasn't her fault. Oliver was right. She was stupid and no use at all. She couldn't do anything. They shouldn't risk it because of her. The healer said that Oliver says he hates her, but in his heart he wants to become her partner. Becoming her partner, that can't be. He hates females. He sat down next to her and began telling her why the guy hated females. His mother was the most beautiful female in the Wolf clan and had many mates. Oliver's father was one of them. He knew that she liked to eat firebird eggs and went in search of them. And unfortunately, he was wounded by the bite of a huge firebird. His mother did not love his father because he was useless. He could not withstand such a blow and soon died. But why did her father lose all hope after he was abandoned? She asked. Each beast man can only have one female for the rest of his life. Males abandoned by females suffer in agony from the negative reaction of a disagreeable contract. In their world, getting married and breaking up means nothing, but if a male is abandoned by a female, it is tantamount to death. The most bitter thing is that after death, his corpse returned to the state of a silver-white wolf, which is a precious, rare species. After he died, he lay on the ground, and the female who abandoned him wanted to rip his fur off. When Oliver learned of his mother's intentions to have others strip his father of his fur, he tried to stop it. He drove them away, shouted and growled at everyone, all the while staying close to his father. He was next to his father's body and bit everyone who came close to them. Until the fur rotted and the female had to give up her idea, rotten silver fur is an ugly thing. The boy watched his father's body rot every day before his eyes, and no one helped him. It was a big blow for him, and after that he began to hate females. So that's why Oliver is like this. She should treat him better in the future and argue with him less. Suddenly their conversation was interrupted by words that something bad had happened. Vanessa screamed that someone was stealing things from their house. She asked to go there. Hearing this, Mira did not understand who could steal their things from the house. She ran there. Vanessa said that there were a lot of them there and she shouldn't go alone. The medicine man asked to immediately call the males from the clan for help. She agreed. Jack and Oliver aren't back yet. This could be a big problem. Running in, she asked what they were doing in her house, asking them to put everything back. She ran and screamed for them to stop, but they simply ignored her. Suddenly, Rachel appeared, saying that it was she who ordered them to steal everything here. After all, her mail is no longer there and she won't be able to stop her, so why not share? Mira screamed that she was a robber and that Jack would be back soon. This is if he ever comes back. There is a blizzard outside and both tigers and wolves would have frozen to death long ago. Mira froze in shock. Rachel took her face, saying how cute it was. If Oliver hadn't taken a liking to her, he would have killed her long ago. Not wanting to listen to this, she hit the female with all the force she had. Rachel flew to the side, falling to the floor with high speed and hitting the ground. Again, this female puts her in an awkward position. She ordered to seize her and teach her a good lesson. The males looked at each other, not understanding how they could raise their hands against a female. After all, she is a female and she is so beautiful and sweet that they cannot raise a hand to her. Her males are in doubt. It can't be, because she is the most beautiful. She couldn't leave the female unpunished. Angry at her males, she ordered Mark to take this female away. He approached her, asking her to come with him and he would take good care of her. She doesn't need his care. She won't go with him. Mira warned them not to make her angry. He was angered by her words, warning her not to talk to him like that. Rachel advised her to go with him, since all her food now belonged to them anyway. So she is in cahoots. One robs houses and the other robs beastmen, but they are worth each other. What is she saying? Rachel asked why he was hesitating after ordering her to be seized. He dragged her along, telling her to shut up or she wanted him to embarrass himself in front of everyone. She screamed at him to let her go, or he would be in trouble in the future. Rachel laughed and asked if this little female was really giving him orders. Mira asked him to think about the consequences. If he forces her, she will definitely leave him. And he won't forgive them for this. This should make Mark think about the other side. As he listened, he understood that the consequences of partner contact were too terrible for him to bear. This is nonsense. She is weak, and maybe this will make her fall in love with someone as strong as him. Rachel asked where the water they brought was. She asked to share it with her. She couldn't resist. Rachel is going to get her drunk. Is it really going to happen again? He noticed how the female began to shake with fear, saying that he would take care of her. She was going to bring them a jug of that water. Maybe she would become more relaxed. But suddenly, someone hit her hard in the stomach area with all their might. She flew back onto the concrete floor with a loud thud, not understanding what had happened. Rachel curled up on the floor, her stomach hurting badly from the blow to it. Who dared to do this to her? She ordered the males to immediately intercede. A dark silhouette appeared in the doorway, moving further and further into the house. It was Oliver. He returned safe and sound as he promised the female. Seeing him, Mark frantically asked how he hadn't died while he was outside there. Oliver told him not to worry. If his whole family died, he would live for a long time. There was so much rage in his eyes as he justified himself by saying that they were already about to return. To leave, but not so quickly in rage, he grabbed him by the neck, thereby detaining him. Standing near the wall, he tried to explain to Oliver that he had misunderstood everything. He raised his hand against a female and he will pay for it. Everyone watched as he beat Mark. In the blood, Mark frantically asked him to stop because he could no longer bear it. But Oliver didn't care about his words because he had offended the girl and wanted to use her. God, Oliver is going to kill him now. Will it really be Rachel's turn then? She was going to leave immediately. They dared to intimidate the female of the Rocky Mountain. He ordered the arrest of the criminals. Rachel screamed that she was a female and the daughter of the head of the wolves. They did not dare touch her. Vanessa approached Mira, saying that Jack and Oliver were back together. Jack is back. He is now resting with the healer, the girl said. He is regaining his strength. Tears welled up in her eyes and a smile appeared on her face. How good it was that they were back. How useless he has become. He can be thrown out of the cave into the cold. They stopped him, asking him to show mercy, and the old man asked them to spare him. Turning around, he said that he was just in time, the Black River healer. He apologized, saying that he had been sick for 2 days and hadn't come out, and Mark had done such things behind his back. Few people know where the healer comes from. He is cunning and treacherous. He offered them fire water. It was because of this water that Jack lost control of himself. What are they doing? Mira came up and asked Oliver to resolve this issue on his own. What a curious little female. Oliver let her decide the matter. She turned to the old man and asked how much water they were willing to bring. This is the first time that a female has taken the initiative to decide issues for the tribe. He answered 2 barrels. They had to bring and leave 2 barrels and also tell what they were made of. They want to get their recipe. How much greed is hidden in them, he wondered. Holding Mark, he asked if they were willing to give anything else in return. She doesn't need a recipe, she just wants to know the ingredients. Then she can cook it herself. But why is she asking the ingredients? What are they planning? Mira replied that it is the business of the Rockwolf clan. Well, does he agree or not? Oliver asked, holding the guy in the air. The healer answered that he agreed. Of course he can't leave Mark, and he has no choice but to agree. He ordered water to be brought. Oliver checked, and there were 2 barrels nearby. Now he has to tell the recipe. He reluctantly leaned over to Mira and whispered the recipe right into her ear. After listening to him, she understood what he had told her, memorizing the information so as not to forget. He left, saying goodbye, saying that they would see each other soon. What an unusual little female. Looking after him, she thought that this healer was somehow strange, and she needed to be careful with him. Exhaling, she decided to go to Jack to check on him. But suddenly Oliver falls and she runs up asking what happened. She touched his body. It was very cold. What could it be? Mira noticed the drawing, wondering where he got the tattoo on his arm from. The healer said that this was a star pattern, and they needed to go to his house to examine it. Opening the doors, he ordered Oliver to be brought in and laid on the bed. Mira noticed Jack. He was lying on the bed. Apparently, he had been resting for a long time. Looking at his face, I realized that he looked as usual, as if nothing had happened. The healer ordered everyone to leave except Mira and guard the door so that no one could enter. But what happened to him? The pattern of the star appeared, and the spirit of the beast awakened in Oliver. But why now? Mira asked what the star pattern was and what it could mean. Over time, the beastmen develop a star pattern, which signifies the awakening of the beast spirit and increases the wearer's combat activity. It is difficult to manifest and almost impossible, and many have failed, resulting in death. Horrified by the story, she realized that Oliver could die from this. Evolution is a test given by heaven, and if you fail it, you will be eliminated. The weak are eaten by the strong, and nature rewards the strong with respect, such is the law of survival. It was the father who had to help him awaken and thresh the soul of the beast inside the boy. Oliver still can't awaken the soul of the beast inside him after so many years. The healer thought that his soul had already died out due to the death of his father. They did not expect it to appear so suddenly. Mira asked what could be done about this. They weren't going to just watch him die. She didn't want him to die like this, even though he had a bad character, but he helped so much. He was very kind inside. Jack woke up and heard the quiet cry of the little female Mira. But why was she crying? He got up from the bed. Mira noticed this and screamed that Jack had woken up. She pressed herself against him with all her strength, saying that Oliver was dying. The male did not understand anything. The healer explained to him that the boy's star pattern had awakened, and Jack understood what he was talking about. It is not surprising that he asked Mira to come in and see everything for himself. Oliver lay unconscious, and a blue pattern glowed on his shoulder. He looked at him. It was a silver frostwolf, such is the will of heaven. He confidently replied that he could help him, but the healer was shocked. Jack slowly began to take off his clothes. He wanted to show them something. Mira saw a star pattern on her thigh. It also awakened the soul of the beast. The healer saw his pattern. It was the beast of the 3rd star. He was shocked. Jack asked if his beast could appease the wolf's soul, and his uncle replied that he could. Falling to his knees, he asked for help for Oliver. No matter where they were, he would serve him. Looking at the female, he said that he could save him, but he wasn't the only one who needed Mira's help. When she heard this, she didn't understand how she could help, since she was an ordinary girl. He explained that he needed her and Oliver as partners, asking her for help. What, but how are the 3 of them and partners? How is this even possible? She looked at him questioningly. Only relatives can beg the soul of the beast. They are not related to him, and he will not only not save him, but can also harm him. And if the 3 of them become partners, then it will be equivalent to a family. At this time, he will try to tame the spirit of the beast and increase his chances. She thought of Jack as a partner, but she didn't think she would have two. Shouldn't marriages be monogamous to be fair? And now Jack is asking her to have two of them. It's crazy. Oliver still expects her to fulfill her promise. She cannot allow him to die. Jack held her tightly, hugging her. She didn't understand what was wrong with him. He tried so hard to protect her from other males and was afraid that she would go to others. And now he had to let her go. Jack was shaking so hard she could feel it. In fact, Jack is very unhappy with this idea, but he made this decision because of her, because they all owe their lives to Oliver. According to custom, in order to become partners, a female and a male must unite. But Oliver is in a coma, and Jack is injured, so there is another way to become partners. The healer approached Oliver, cut his finger, and dripped his blood into a vessel. The girl approached the vessel and looked into it, thinking that it would help him. Taking it, she drank the contents of the jug in one gulp without hesitation, leaving nothing behind. Taking the knife, she too had to sacrifice blood by cutting her finger. Kneeling down in front of Miro, he accepted the jug with its contents. Jack also drank the contents without thinking about well-being. Because the guy was in a coma, the healer gave him the contents to drink from his hands. She looked at everything that was happening, not understanding whether it was a hallucination. Apparently, this is the agreement. They are getting married exactly as it just happened. Oliver's complexion returned to normal, and the cold aura dissipated. Everything turned out well. Mira asked if their wedding ceremony was finished. The medicine man replied that everything went well. Oliver hates females so much will he be angry when he finds out he was forced into marriage. If he dared to dislike her, Jack would kill him. Mira thought how cruel he was. But Oliver likes her, and he would like to be partners with her. He will only be happy. She didn't have to worry, because the contract concluded in blood only lasts 3 months. And if she likes it, she can stay, but if not, she can break it off. But the little female thought that this contract was for the rest of her life. It's like a 3-month romance, although dating 2 at once is weird. Sitting down next to Oliver, he said that he could handle the rest himself, holding out his hand. Jack began to help him awaken and thresh the soul of the beast hanging over him. Even Mira's heart began to beat, and she felt Oliver's heartbeat. She even felt the rhythm and breathing of their bodies completely while standing next to them. Oliver suddenly woke up, not understanding what was happening or where he was. The star spirit symbol was successfully completed. The Rocky Wolf clan finally had a beast spirit. His father would be proud of him. Jack was tired. Mira noticed how pale he was, and she asked him to lie down. Looking at the girl, he said that he wanted to return to their house and be there. He wanted to go home. Mira was surprised by his request, but very quickly agreed. The house returned to its previous state. Apparently, Vanessa and her males helped. Jack handed her a leafy fruit, asking her to eat one a day. The problem is that Jack never confesses even when he is in danger. But how can she refuse a gift? Jack looked at her with a tired expression, asking for forgiveness for that evening. But Mira screamed, saying that she had already forgotten that evening and did not want to remember. He thanked her for her kindness. Nothing mattered as long as Mira stayed by his side. Looking at her with sweet eyes, he asked if he could hug her. Of course, she doesn't want to push him away. After that incident, she realized that she can't live without him. Now he's back and everything is getting better. They hugged tenderly, sitting on the bed. But suddenly someone knocked out the wall, and now instead of a wall there is such a big hole. Oliver was peeking around the corner, and she asked what he had done and why. She angrily shouted at him, asking why he broke the wall in her house. He replied that they were now partners, and now the house was hers and his too. He could do whatever he wanted with his wall. Mira screamed that he had completely lost his mind. He didn't care. He just wanted their houses to become one. But what if she then refuses to be his partner? Because he is not like Jack. He does not have a third-level beast. Mira listened to him saying that even if that was the case, it didn't give him the right to break down walls. The little female did not deny the partnership, which meant that deep down she agreed. He said that it would be more convenient to pass between the houses. Mira listened and did not understand what kind of convenience was being discussed right now. Of course he did this to make it easier to steal the female into his bed. Jack said that he had prepared soup. Joyful Mira ran, saying that they would finally eat together. Looking at Oliver, he said that he saved him and he helped him call the beast. Finally, he said that from now on, they will have fair competition. Fair competition means Oliver will do everything but let him win. Jack ignored his words as he walked away, but Oliver apparently hadn't finished speaking yet. He doesn't even ask him what he's doing here, being a beast with a 3-star spirit, but if he harms the clan or the little female, he'll regret it. The male replied that he simply wanted to live with her, and if another offended her, he would not give in either. Standing nearby, Mira heard everything, their entire conversation from beginning to end. They will live together for the next 3 months. Will they be able to spend them peacefully? The first day of living together began uneasy. The girl screamed. It was she who asked him to carry out the task, so why shouldn't he receive a reward? She yelled at him, saying that she would never sleep with him tonight either. But they are partners, and this is normal. She is used to sleeping alone and does not want to sleep with someone nearby. Liar, she slept with this tiger every night, and every night he made her make these strange sounds. The sound insulation of stone walls is so bad that there is a complaint book for it. She and Jack have mutual love, but he doesn't even like her. She considers him a friend. She said with a downcast face that it would be wrong to sleep together. In a sad voice, he asked if she liked him at all. Grabbing her hand, he shouted, "Then why did she become his partner?" She said it was a quick decision. They didn't know that doing this wasn't a real partnership. This is only for 3 months, and the contract will expire on its own, and everything will be as before. These words pierced him. Like, this is not a real partnership. He just wants to be with her. He wants to go to the end with Mira and leave her his status as a partner. He let go of her hand. He didn't want to scare her by saying that he had to go and carry out an important task. But why is he so angry? Maybe he really doesn't like females. Having burst into the healer's house again, he began to shout, calling him to come to him. He threw a sleeping bag into his hands, saying that Mira had given it to him. He didn't understand why he needed it. The healer looked at him, asking if he had quarreled with the female again. He said that she didn't like him at all, but Oliver loved her, but she didn't love him. Grandfather looked at his eyes filled with tears and asked him not to be sad and to tell everything. Jack and Mira walked to Vanessa's house carrying something in their hands, apparently a gift for her. Mira knocked. Vanessa invited her in. She entered, but suddenly saw her on the bed surrounded by males. She recoiled and ran out, driving Jack away, saying that it was too hot there. She asked Vanessa to call her as soon as she finished her business. "It's only daytime now." He replied that it's winter now and the season has begun. When spring comes and fruits are plentiful, females give birth and provide safety for their young. Embarrassed, she didn't understand how to do this with 3 people because it was so difficult. Jack replied that he wouldn't like it either if she were with other males. But what does he think about her? He is only interested in her and no one else. How can he be so serious and flirt with her so openly? In the evening, Oliver came home, saying that he had returned home expecting hospitality. He came in and saw Mira and Jack sitting near the fire. The girl called him to eat. The guy fried food, asking the female to taste it and comment. She happily took it, saying how delicious it looked when it was fried to a crispy crust with batter. Oliver watched them sitting there sweetly, doting on each other. He recalled the words of the healer that females enjoy heart-to-heart talk. He is the strongest of the Rocky Wolf clan. He doesn't need affection. The 3rd level of the beast spirit is so gentle and considerate, constantly taking care of her. Of course, Mira likes him because he is so good. She should learn from him. He doesn't need to learn from the tiger, but if he doesn't want to learn, then he won't get peace. But how can he learn to be like he has never been before? Because he loves her. Mira felt cold at night, but Jack slept nearby because after that incident he was afraid of hurting her. Suddenly she heard strange sounds and didn't understand what it could be. Was it from the kitchen? Was it a thief? Oliver was sitting on the floor near the fire holding food. He spent half the night cooking. She looked at him, asking what he was doing. The guy hid the food, frantically saying that he was not doing anything here. Suddenly he started throwing food around, saying how hot it was to burn his hands. She asked to look. There was nothing scary there, just redness. He stayed up half the night cooking. Didn't he really eat his fill last night? He will never admit that he learned to cook to make Mira happy. The girl pointed to his ears, saying that they were drooping, and they droop when he is sad. She looked at the mess, asking if he wanted to eat meat. The female began to teach him that before frying meat, it must be cut. He began to cut up the meat, throwing it in all possible directions. You just need to turn it over evenly and then slowly so that it fries, and then brush with seasoning. Oliver began to repeat after her, asking if he was doing everything right. She replied that everything was correct. It was almost ready. He could try it. It worked, though not as tasty and baked as Jack's, but it was still good. Not as good as his. What needs to be done to conquer the world? The ears have dropped again. The shashlik turned out delicious, so why is he sad? Exhaling, he asked if she really cared whether he was sad or not. Mira didn't understand why he was so sad and lethargic as never before. She only cares about the tiger, and she doesn't care about him. She started screaming that he is also important to her. Oliver listened to her, asking if it was true, and he even felt better hearing that. She held his hand, telling him it was true and he meant a lot to her. He was really good and helped her so much she was grateful to him. Mira's hands are so small and soft. I really wanted to hold them forever and never let go. He only asked for gratitude, and that's all. Mira didn't know what to answer him. He noticed that her heart was beating wildly and seemed to understand everything, shuddering. Getting up, he asked if she liked him too. She didn't understand what to do. Oliver guessed everything. To deny it would be to lie, but if he admitted it, what would he do? He caught her by surprise. Mira had such a reaction. He understood everything, which means there is mutual sympathy. She gradually falls in love, and why doesn't she answer him right away? What she doesn't know is that if she likes it, she likes it. If she doesn't like it, she doesn't like it. He realized that she didn't answer that she liked him, so as not to be rejected. Even though he hates females, he can give her a chance for the sake of her love for him. Why is she silent with joy? And how could she fall in love with this guy? She must be blind. She asked me to stop being a narcissistic idiot. She's going to bed again. But he couldn't let her just get away with answering the question. Before she rushes after Jack, she promises him something. He wants her to fulfill the condition. Stopping, she agreed, asking what he wanted from her. Taking her hand, he asked her to spend the night with him today. Mira was in shock. Saying that he was really sick, she threw him out the door and sent him to bed. After a long conversation with Oliver, Mira went to sleep on her bed alone. But suddenly she felt the touch of a hand and heard someone calling her. The presence of strangers' eyes made her wake up, turning onto her back. A confused male was hovering over her, telling her how much he liked her. She looked at him, not understanding what he was doing in her bed. Taking her hands, he leaned down and kissed her tenderly right on the lips. Pulling away, he licked his lips and said that tonight he would make her his female. He breathed languidly right into her lips, asking her to let him do this to her. From such a dream, she suddenly woke up with a scream, jumping out of bed in horror. What a terrible dream she just had. Oliver, who hated females, wanted to spend the night with her. This can't be. Remembering yesterday's events, she realized that the dream had occurred because of his words. Yawning, she and Vanessa were preparing the seasoning. She asked why she was so sleepy today. She replied that she had not slept well. She had a terrible dream with Oliver. How could she sleep peacefully there? Vanessa whispered and asked if perhaps Jack had been too rude yesterday. How come they didn't have anything? Oliver likes her so much, the woman claimed. In shock, she asked how this was possible. Then why should they become partners? But does he hate females? Vanessa asked him to remember how he treats Rachel. He hates them and how he treats her. And indeed, everything is different, although you can't come to an agreement with Oliver, but he agreed to help her with the request. Vanessa, smirking, asked why she was slowing down in that case. Oliver is so cool. She would have pounced on him a long time ago. She couldn't do it with Jack. Isn't it painful? What is she even thinking about? What a shame. Vanessa likes it, but looking at Mira, she realized how gentle and graceful she is. It's just small, and the difference between them is too big. That's why it hurts. And yet there is a way to reduce the pain to a minimum. There is a special fruit. Jack had just such a fruit in his basement, and when he gave it to her, her condition improved significantly. She didn't think that this fruit could have such magical properties. While rummaging around in the basement, she heard Oliver's voice and was afraid that she would be seen there. Looking out, she asked what happened and why she was so worried about being caught. She may not be shy, they don't need to rush so much at night. She won't spend the night with him, saying that he is a narcissist and asking him to show her what he has there. He broke the stunning news that Rachel was pregnant. And why is he telling her this? Maybe it's his child, but he shouted saying that it doesn't matter to him. Initially, he planned to keep her in the dungeon until the snow melted, but it turned out that she was pregnant. They asked him to let her go. If something happens to the pregnant female, they will have huge problems. But in this situation, it is she who will suffer, so it is up to her to decide. With fury and madness in his eyes, he claimed that he could kill her for her. But won't he be punished for killing a pregnant female? She didn't want that. He didn't care about it. He would simply stop being the head, take her, and they would leave. With sympathy, she asked not to do this and to let the female go with the baby. She wants to protect him, so she releases Rachel from the cage. He liked it so much that she cared about his feelings that he was touched to the depths of his soul. Why is he so narcissistic? He asked her. She asked questioningly. He kissed her forehead sharply and at the same time tenderly. She didn't expect that. He turned around, saying that he had left and she should wait for him at home. But why should she wait? Rachel was sitting in the dungeon with her mails and noticed that Oliver had arrived. He turned to the guards, saying that they could leave here quickly. He's going to let her go. What kind of duplicity is this? Maybe he does care about her after all. Noticing the drawing of the beast, she asked in shock if he had gone through the revolution. It's so great, their child will be just amazing. She will help him raise the strongest baby. She is the most resilient daughter of the chieftain, and no one will be better suited than her. She will give him more than this wild female. He listened to her nasty words about Mira with rage and told her to let him go. Unable to bear her voice, he grabbed her by the throat, strangling her with all his might. She should be grateful to Mira because it was she who asked to be released. Once again, she and the corpse males shouted for him to let her go because she was pregnant. Having thrown her out to the males, he began to move away while the female coughed. He asked to take care of her so that she would not catch his eye again. Otherwise, he would kill her. Oliver humiliated her, and his wild female will never forgive this and will definitely take revenge. Sitting at home, the partners enjoyed a delicious dinner by the fire. Looking at Mira, Jack asked if she had eaten her fill of soup and shashlik. Having answered that she was full, she thought about how she could tell him everything. If she had to choose a partner, she would want to be with Jack and no one else. Getting up, Jack said in a sad voice that he was going to bed, looking at the floor. Taking him by the hands, Mira stopped him, asking him to wait a minute. Looking at him with sweet eyes, she asked him to stay with her tonight. These words shocked the guy. Not understanding what to answer, he looked at her. She sat on her knees, holding his hand. He looked at her, not knowing what to answer. Hearing this, Oliver began to be indignant at how she could suggest such a thing to anyone other than him. That is, she wants to spend the night with Jack and have children with him in the future. How could he say such a thing to her straight in the eye? The guy sat down, calming her ardor. Leaning over, he said that he was very happy to hear that from her. Oliver was extremely outraged sitting next to them, listening to this with his ears. Standing up, he sadly began to walk away from them. Mira looked at him with concern. Reassuring the girl, he said that everything was fine and the male went to his place. Jack decided to ask again if she was sure of her decision, if she would be scared. She frantically said that she was not afraid of him. She was only afraid of pain. While hugging her, he justified himself by saying that he had been wrong towards her that time. Having brought the fruits, she showed them to him, because Vanessa said that these fruits would ease the pain. There is no need to force yourself. Even if she becomes his partner forever, he will always love her. She really wants to be loved because she received too little of it in that life. She feels how well Jack treats her, so she didn't want to lose him, asking if he loves her. Looking at her with a smile, he said that she was the most precious thing he had. He pulled her towards him, kissing her pink lips tenderly and hugging her around the waist. He carefully laid the girl on the bed, looking straight into her eyes. Looking at her, he warned that if she was in pain, she should tell him about it right away. Taking the fruit in his hand, he broke it, and pink liquid flowed down his fingers. Mira felt her body become very hot, as if it was waiting for something. A sweaty Jack asked if she was ready for this right now. Closing her eyes, she not only couldn't speak, she was even ashamed to look into his eyes. Jack could see how shy he was being underneath him on the bed. Suddenly, something interrupted Mira's idyll, and she didn't understand what it was. Jumping up from her seat, she began to stop the guy. He did not understand what was wrong with her. Some familiar feeling made her stand up to see what was going on. Damn period, so untimely. Jack saw the blood and thought that he had hurt her again. It's not his fault, it's her period again. It's such a shame that her period got in the way of everything. Meanwhile, Oliver was gnawing on the blanket, thinking that he also wanted to spend the night with Mira. Vanessa laughed at the situation, saying that she has a strange body because at important moments it lets her down. She asked her to shut up, how good it was that the system had pads, otherwise she wouldn't know how to live. Looking at the girl, she realized how pale and tired she was. It wasn't funny. Not understanding why the pain this time was much stronger than the last, Jack brought blood fruits asking Mira to eat them. She immediately agreed. Concerned, Oliver brought in a witch doctor to examine her. She didn't have to worry. Everything would be fine with her. It seemed like Oliver and Jack were very worried about her. Before this, she ran around the streets in the frost and cold, and now her body is bearing fruit. Her pain can be cured, but she needs to be patient. After drinking this, she will feel better. Seeing the solution, its color and smell, she ran away saying that she would not drink it. The guys shouted in two voices for her to drink it because they were worried. Lying in bed, she finally exhaled. Having finished drinking it, it was very difficult. Oliver sat down and asked her to rest. They could take care of her. Tiredly, she asked why he was looking at her so strangely, sadly. Oliver blushed, evading that it was not at all what she thought. Sometimes he irritates her, but now he is very cute. Only females and children are called cute. Jack came up and gently stroked her head as if he was afraid of harming her. He said that he would go boil water, and in the meantime, Oliver would stay nearby and keep an eye on things. In an unfamiliar world, she is not so afraid to experience difficulties and dangers as long as Jack and Oliver are nearby. In winter, this side has the most sunlight, and Jack and Oliver allowed her to go outside the cave and bask in the sun. This is the favorite place for females in the cold winter. They come out into the sun and instantly warm up. Vanessa told her to thank her males for letting her out. The males must be worried about their females. She just got pregnant, and they don't leave her side for a second. Vanessa was also pregnant, but her tummy was flat. How could this be? She is looking forward to the birth of her child, wondering what he will look like. Vanessa angrily said that Rachel was not welcome here with a stern look. With a haughty look, she walked towards them, saying that the sun was very good for her. She heard that Mira had a partner, so why is she still not pregnant? Is there something wrong with her health? Or is she unable to have children? Poking around in her thoughts, she had no desire to listen to her now. Rachel, seeing that she was ignored, was furious at how this could be. Hey, she was talking to her. Does she even hear her, or is she doing it on purpose? She pulled back, screaming that it hurt and that she shouldn't touch her in any way. This was her chance to play to the crowd, although it would make Mira look bad. Her stomach hurt so much that she did this to her. Mira didn't understand what was wrong with her. Vanessa began to stand up for her friend, claiming that this was nonsense and that she had not done it. Mira wants to kill her and her child. If she herself cannot give birth, then she will kill someone else's. People around her started looking at her with disapproval, but she didn't want that. She looked at her with a menacing gaze, saying that she would not forgive her if she lost the child. Suddenly, she ran up to her with all her might, pushing her, screaming that she was an evil, wild female. Vanessa, who was standing nearby, saw all this, shouting Mira's name louder than anyone else. What's going on? She was falling down. Why did she push her? She didn't do anything. Jack was at home, feeling pain in his chest, and realized that something had happened to the female. Jumping up from his seat, he hurried to check what had happened to her. Mira was falling, gaining more speed with every minute. Vanessa held Oliver back, saying that if he jumped, he would break. Warning, the owner's life is in danger. The system starts the protection program. After a while, the girl woke up from the cold that surrounded her from head to toe. It was so cold, she fell off the cliff straight into a snowdrift of white snow. That she fell off a cliff and didn't have a single bruise, how is that possible? As she got up, she didn't understand what kind of strange place she found herself in. There is a rocky mountain there, apparently, in order to save it. The system threw it away. Standing under the snowflakes, she realized that the journey home would be long. We need to get back quickly, otherwise Jack and Oliver will be very worried. The sun is already setting, and the rocky mountain is still far away. It is very dangerous to wander at night. You need to find a place to spend the night. It's good that there is a cave, but it was very cold there and she was hungry. If I had known that it would turn out like this, I would have taken a couple of pieces of meat with me. First, she needs to find some firewood to keep warm, otherwise she will freeze. Looking out into the street, she saw that someone was lying in the snow nearby. She quickly ran out and ran up to him, asking if he was okay. But there was no answer. She saw a guy unconscious in the snow, frantically asking him to get up. Looking at him, she saw a red spot, realizing that he was wounded and bleeding. But if you leave him alone, he will die of cold. This cannot be allowed. As she picked it up, she realized how heavy it was. She couldn't carry it alone. Pulling herself together and gathering her strength, she began to drag his body through the snow. Having brought him into the cave, she lit a fire and sat next to him, looking intently. Looking at him, he was very handsome. He was probably also a beast man, she thought. But his clothes are not like the others. The fabric is completely different from what they wear. He is from where the standard of living is much higher. This can be seen from his fabric and jewelry. I wonder where this place is. After some time, the guy woke up and did not understand where he was and how. And what about that guy who was following him the whole time he was outside? Looking around, he saw a sleeping female next to the fire where he came from. Looking at his body, he noticed that his wound was bandaged, apparently by this girl. But why did she do this, and for what purpose did she bring him into the cave with care? It looks like this little female saved him and started the fire. She must be from far away. On a winter night, this female is alone in the mountains, and at the same time she can make a fire. What happened? If you look closely, you can see how cute she is. He had never seen such beautiful ones before. Suddenly, Mira woke up, frightened by the guy standing next to her. He looked at her with a grateful look, saying thank you for saving him. Looking at him, she asked him not to move, because she had just bandaged the wound. If he moves or stirs, she will come untied. He only asked whether she is a doctor or not. She is not an ordinary female at all. His eyes are so filled with coldness and horror. He said his name was Python. She said her name, but she could just call her Mira. Mira, what a beautiful name, he said, looking down at her with his brown eyes. How charmingly he calls her by name. The girl was touched by this. Python's wound looked deep, as if he had been pierced with a sharp knife, who tried so hard to harm him. He looked so cold that Mira couldn't dare ask him. How did this little female end up here? Because the beastmen try not to leave the rocks. Jack ran, asking everyone to leave immediately. He needed to find Mira. Mira fell from such a height she simply could not survive, and if he goes down, he will find only her corpse. There was no trace of Mira, but the healer found something else near the rock. Oliver felt Mira's heartbeat. The next day, Mira sat in the cave, very hungry. Python said that the snowstorm had died down and he would go look for food, but Mira tried to dissuade him, saying that he was wounded. By opening his clothes, he showed that the wound on his body had healed and everything was fine. The wound healed in just one night. That's some strong regeneration he has. He got dressed, saying that he would find food for them, asking the female to stay in the cave and not come out. But she wanted to get home. She couldn't sit in the cave and wait for him to come. But he wasn't cold in such an outfit. He looked at her menacingly, hinting that she should obey. He left, and it looked like I wouldn't see him for a while, looking out and watching him. But she has no time to wait for him. Jack and Oliver are worried about her. They need to hurry. She would have left a note for Python, but she had no pen or paper. And he won't understand her notes because they are primitive. Her tummy was growling. The guys are probably eating meat now. While walking, night came and it started snowing. But she had not yet come to the rock. What should she do? But she never found the path. She was very tired and wanted to eat, seemingly losing hope. Suddenly, from fatigue and hunger, Mira fainted right on the cold snow.